All right, and here we go, back with another episode of the Uncivilized Art podcast. I'm your host, Bumi Hazan, but I go by Bandit Haze in the online space. And today, joined once again by my man, Sweet Bundy. We were talking about The Boys Season 4 a couple of weeks ago, at least a couple of weeks ago as of recording, and probably about a couple of weeks in between the episodes going live as well. If all the stars align and everything comes out properly, about a couple of weeks apart ish. But yeah, last time we talked about The Boys, we didn't get through all of it. We said, we've got to do a part 2. Possibly might even have to do a part 3, but hopefully we could just fit it all into this episode of the podcast and talk about something else another time. But yeah, that's what's on the agenda today, to talk about The Boys Season 4 and everything that we didn't get a chance to talk about the last time. But Bundy, how you been? This is, I think, the quickest we've had between episodes, right? Usually, we do an episode and it's maybe like a month or something before we talk again. This has only been a few weeks, so how you been in the last couple of weeks? What's going on? And any new developments? Anything interesting? Anything or anything? Or anything you want to say? Just what's going on in the Sweet Bundy world in the last few weeks?
Honestly, nothing besides my job just killing me slowly. Oof. That's it. That's all. That's it, and that's all.
Sure. How you? By the way, I just want to ask you though, how you getting on with Spanish? Because I do see the things on Duolingo, and was it 500 days streak? Was that right? No,
I'm still under 500, but I'm over 400.
Okay.
I'm still keeping up with it. Honestly, it's like I need to branch out besides Duolingo. We had that talk last time. Because Duolingo will keep you in a corner and they'll teach you a few things and you're like, oh, that's great. That's cool. But as far as something, these are training wheels, if anything.
Yeah.
With Duolingo, because they won't teach you everything that you need to know in the way I would prefer. The way I would prefer to learn is, tell me exactly what you're telling me, like a direct translation. Don't tell me something like, in English, our grammar is a certain way, and then you're giving me the Spanish version of it. So if I go ahead and try to translate it word for word, there are times where Duolingo will say, great job. And then other times where they'll say, nope, you got that wrong. And it doesn't make sense. I'm like, bro, I translated word for word, but because the grammar was incorrect in English, then it was wrong. However, if I go ahead and stick with that rule, like I said, sometimes they will say that it's incorrect because they'll have something that doesn't make sense. In English, we won't say, how much does this cost in dollars? We don't say that. We say, how much does this cost?
Yeah.
So if I say that in the translation, all of a sudden they're like, nope, that's wrong. So I don't know if it was like a miscommunication with their team or whatever, or if it's a trick to just get you to use up the 5 hearts. So they'll be like, hey, you want to get super? I'm not paying for no damn Duolingo. They teach me things like to tell people, oh, I don't shower. What the fuck? So yeah, I'm not.
Well, if you're not to say I don't shower, then at least you know how to avoid the dirty women when you ain't traveling abroad. That's pretty useful. If you ever what was it? I don't Spanish too well, but French I'm learning. But yeah, if you ever hear that in that language, in Spanish or whatever language, all right, cool, I avoid you. But yeah, and I've been using Duolingo a lot lately as well, as you know, because it's been popping up on the thing, and appreciate the high fives and all that, the celebrations. I appreciate that. But I've been using Duolingo a lot, mostly for French, but I did do some Spanish on it as well, and some other languages. And it's interesting what you said about the translations though, because I thought the issue I was having when it comes to translation is that it bases the English more on American style English, how Americans speak English, and not really how British people speak English. So for example, you might say it's nice out. We would just say it's nice, and so that's where I'm kind of messing up. I have to put things like it's nice out, even though there's no word for out. So you're actually trying to translate. It's just because the American kind of traditional or way of speaking would be to say it's nice out, whereas we just say it's nice. and then in French it'd be c'est beau, which is really like saying it is beautiful, in terms of it more of a direct translation. But when referring to the weather, we say the weather is nice. You might say in American the weather is nice out, and in France you just say c'est beau. So yeah, that's what I thought kind of the issue was, that it's based it more in American English, so I'm kind of messing up there. But so it's interesting to see how you say that, because like apparently that maybe their English just isn't that good, just anyway, regardless of whether it's American or British, they just did. But yeah, I like it overall. I do like it. I actually do pay for Duolingo. I pay for Duolingo and I donate to Wikipedia, so I need to I need to try and get you on that. But yeah, I do find it useful because I'm using it a lot, and I feel like because I'm using it a lot, it helps with like the ads don't get in the way and stuff like that. Because with the free version, the ads are just horrendous. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate they gotta make their money, but the adverts are so prevalent. It's like, bro, like every like bloody thing is like there's an ad, and there's another ad. It's like, dude. So yeah, they got my money. They got my money for the year. But yeah, I think you're right. I feel like it's good at least in my experience. I feel like it is a good way to get started, a good way to learn some basics and maybe some more advanced stuff, because the courses are quite long, so you can learn some more advanced stuff. But ultimately, yeah, you do need to be actually practicing what you're learning and trying to speak it as much as possible and listen to it as much as possible. Unfortunately, right. Well, no, I mean, there are ways I can do that. I can hire a tutor, and you can find places where you can hire tutors that aren't too expensive, but short of like, living in France or something, or, which is, we don't all get to just up and go to a whole other country for 6 months. You know what I mean? So,
I don't even have a passport.
Oh, you need to get a passport, dude. What is it with Americans and not having passports? I swear, bare Americans don't have passports. That's what's going on. What's going on? Like, you have airports, right? You gotta get a passport. What's going on? How many times I speak to American and they don't have a passport?
Traveling. I've never really been into traveling, and even when I go to Georgia, like that's the most I really travel is going to Georgia.
But
anytime when I do,
Mm-hmm.
Anytime when I do go to Georgia, like it's like leaving. Here's the thing: leaving New York through the airport is horrendous. Like that shit. The motherfuckers are rude. They're loud. No, typical New York. And they'll be yelling at you. I had a woman yell at me because I had a not even a hoodie. It was like a sweater. And she was like, "Take your sweater off." I was like, "Yeah, but it's just a fucking sweater." It's like, "Take your sweater off," like yelling at me like that. Like, yo, like these people really, they don't, it's like, I get it. It must be a stressful job, and you're just like, bro, just do what the fuck I say so we could go ahead and get you guys through here faster. I get it. On that spectrum, I get it. But at the same time, on the other side is like, who the fuck are you? Yeah, you're a TSA agent. I get it, but calm the fuck down, please. Talk to me with some respect. I'm not saying kiss my ass or anything.
Yeah.
But damn, don't yell at me like that. And any other time, you could make a joke like, "Oh, that's pretty hot." No, don't. It's first off, it's early as fuck. I'm going through this airport. I'm tired, and you're getting paid a lot of money for it. Now, again, yeah, you're getting paid a lot of money, but it is stressful. So I'm not taking that away. But don't disrespect me.
Yeah,
Stop being so disrespectful. Yeah. There's so many ways that you can handle shit. So anyway, I get patted down. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I don't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off. So you get patted down.
Yeah, I get patted down,
but and hopefully by a woman at least.
No, and then they gotta say, some going off here, whatever, blah blah. It's just a whole thing. It's like, I get it, but at the same time, y'all let motherfuckers go through with all other kinds of shit. Oh yeah, even before I even got to that point, I got into an argument with somebody. So basically, it was this family, right? And I didn't know they were together because they were fucking around at the corner of it was a long line and they were fucking around at the corner of it. So I said, I mean, I didn't say anything to them. I just went past. You know, they were stepped off to the far side. So then the guy was like, "Hey, you skipped in front of us." I said, "You weren't standing in line." So then he's like, "There's, just argue with me." And I listen, I was in the mood, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I cursed him out. I said, "Shut the fuck up." Like flat out. And I'm normally not like that. I promise you. Don't get it twisted. I am not like that. I'm not the type of person to be like, fuck you. I don't care, Bob. I am not like that whatsoever. But that day I was. I didn't give a
Sometimes you gotta
fuck.
be petty. Sometimes you gotta be
Yeah.
petty.
Cause this motherfucker standing off to the side. And then his kids are telling him, oh, let it go, Dad, let it go. Yeah, let it go. Motherfucker. He's like, you should watch your mouth. I don't gotta watch a motherfucking thing. I'm a grown ass man. I don't know who the fuck you think you talking to. But right after that, that's when I got tied up with the TSA. I don't know if that was karma or what, but I don't care. I still would do it. I'll still curse his ass out. Anyway, so then they finally, the guy's asking me because I was bringing my my microphone and everything with me, and he's asking me, he's like, "Oh, yo, you do podcasts or whatever?" I just told him, yeah. At that time I wasn't, but I just told him, yeah, I be podcasting or whatever. He's like, "Oh man, that's so cool." Having all these conversations. Meanwhile, you're checking my dick. Like, let me go, bro. I don't got no fucking bombs. I don't got anything. Just let me go. I gotta catch this fucking plane.
Gotta be sure.
It's like 6 in the fucking morning. I am tired. I am fucking tired. So anyway, they let me go. And we get on the plane. Everything's okay. It's a little uncomfortable, even though I'm in the beginning. I don't even know if it's first class or business class that I take. I just know that I take JetBlue, and I'm always sitting in the front. So yeah, it's just terrible. I fucking hate that whole process. But coming back, never a headache. Knock on wood, but never a headache. I never had a problem with, and knock on wood again. I never had a problem with Atlanta Airlines or whatever. Those people are so polite. They're so nice. It's a fast process most of the time. It's clean. Direct. They treat you with respect. They don't yell at you, unless you're doing something ignorant or something stupid. And the people know to line up. They don't stand off to the side and all that. I only have one incident where this person, they were doing something like I see in traffic where motherfuckers won't move up because they're like, well, there's a line in front of me anyway. So what? Move up. You got space. Move up. But anyway, yeah, I'm done ranting. Just to sum it up, I fucking hate traveling.
Yeah, no, I mean, traveling through airports can be stressful, even on good days for sure. Like, I mean, I don't think I've had experiences as bad as you, but yeah, I've had a few experiences where it's like, yeah, this is not necessary. But no, what I was really going to say though is that, like, even if you don't travel outside the country a lot, it is still I feel like it's still a good idea to have a passport. I mean, maybe things are a bit different in the United States, but certainly in the UK, like, it counts as pretty much the most official form of ID you could have. So if you're ever applying for just about anything where they ask for ID, or a lot of places would just straight up ask for a passport, you've got it there ready. So yeah, like, even if you're not traveling, it's a good idea to just have a passport. That's where you can apply for things, whether you need to apply for a loan, or if you're applying for certain jobs, or other things where you might need some kind of official form of ID. It's just there, ready. Passport, driving license are like the two most official forms of ID, and not everybody can drive, even though they might actually have a license. Not everybody can drive. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, passports are relatively easy to get. You don't have to take lessons to get a passport, for one thing. So yeah, I feel like you should have a passport, just because it makes a whole lot of other things easier. And of course, if you do travel, it's just there. But yeah, like you say, it can be stressful. But I've personally, same as yourself, that when it comes to getting back into a country, so far, I don't think I've ever had any issues. Like, like when you get back, like coming back into the UK, like you typically have like the two queues, like one for British citizens and then one for sort of international citizens and things like that. And because I've got a British passport, I just go and it's easy. And it's just like it's almost like getting off a bus at that point. You're just walking through with hardly anything, no issues, not and that kind of thing. Like, it's never been a problem coming back in, But yeah, going out of a country or getting into a country, mate, where you get stopped. I went to Canada years back. They pulled me to the side when I was coming off the plane. They pulled me to the side. I was like, "Can you just wait over here, please?" And I was like, "All right, cool, no problem." I'm waiting, not thinking much of it at the time. But then you're noticing, wait a minute, everyone else is getting off and going past with no issues. Why am I the only one standing, being asked to stand to the side, And then he calls me over. He's asked me all kinds of questions about, like, what school did your parents go to? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, he's asked me mad questions for like ages. Like, he's checking my passport. He's asked me for criminal records. I'm like, no. And he goes, well, we can just check on your passport. If you got a criminal record, it'll show up in 2 seconds. I'm like, all right, we'll check. Like, you ask me questions, bunch of waste my time. If you could just check that quickly, just do that then, innit? You know what I mean? Just do that. But there's also a whole bunch of questions, checking my my luggage and everything. And I ain't got no criminal records and nothing shady. So in the end, it was fine to get in. But it's like, what was the point of that? Like, you know what I mean? What was the point? Like, I mean, I can guess, right? You know what I mean? I can guess what that was about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can guess, right? But it was just awkward and awkward and took like an hour and a half, I think maybe 2 hours. I can't remember exactly how long. It took ages. But yeah, eventually just lets me go. I go through, had a great time in Canada. And then, of course, coming back into the country, no problems at all. But yeah, traveling can be stressful. But still, get a passport. Get a passport. Even if you're not traveling, it's worth having a passport.
I'll consider it.
But yeah, no, I've been pretty much the same in the last few weeks. Just a few little playing GTA 4 today, so just a little bit of GTA 4. Watching JoJo still on the last season of JoJo Bizarre Adventure. Let me say it right. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm on the last season of that now. Only got like 6 episodes to go before I finish that off. So yeah, looking forward to getting through that. It's been really good. It's been really good so far. Definitely lives up to the Bizarre name. I know I've said that before, but it really does live up to the Bizarre name. But this last season, I've been really digging, really liking it. So yeah, almost done with it. Like 6 episodes to go. Very close to the end to see how that wraps up. So looking forward to that. But yeah, that's been pretty much me over the last couple of weeks, and of course, getting ready to do this podcast as well, which I guess we should get into. So yeah, we're going to be talking about The Boys season 4, but blanket spoiler warning for everything The Boys, specifically season 4, but yeah, everything The Boys and possibly Gen V as well. If you've not seen it, you may want to watch those first, but if you have, or you just don't care about spoilers, then we continue. But yeah, just a kind of a quick thing, like last week we did like the non-spoiler bit. We just said, yeah, it's worth watching, pretty much what it comes down to. It's got some cool bits, some maybe not so cool bits, but overall, check it out if you haven't seen it. But outside of that, yeah, I think we should just get into the main stuff, because we had a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to talk about, and as such, we ended up having to do a part 2 to this particular season. So the first thing I want to bring up in for today's episode is really about Billy Butcher and his new friend, his new old friend, Joe Kessler, because that whole thing, in my opinion, was done really well. From when they introduced Joe Kessler to the reveal that Joe Kessler is not really there. A few episodes later on, just the way, because we know Rebecca's not really there, and so we already kind of saw Rebecca as his kind of guiding light, so to speak. We kind of saw Rebecca as his angel on his shoulder, so to speak, trying to give him good advice, trying to steer him in the right direction. His conscious, that kind of thing. I'm not sure. I mean, you can let me know if you thought this, but I did not suspect that Joe Kessler was also part of his conscience as well until that reveal. So that definitely got me. But how did you feel about that whole thing from Joe Kessler's introduction to the reveal that he's the devil on his shoulder, so to speak?
Well, I kind of, had a suspicion when like the more he appeared, the more I realized only Butcher's,
Mm,
interacting with him. He's not really interacting with anyone else. It felt weird, it was just weird to me. Um, and I wasn't even really looking for things like I wasn't even looking deep into it, but I was just like, oh man, it, it's really weird that there's nothing being affected by him directly.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what really sealed it for me was he when Butcher got that guy that was dating what's her name? Victoria?
Oh, Newman, the Samir,
Yeah.
the doctor, the scientist.
Yeah. So when they captured him, Butcher was like talking and talking, and then he turned and said something to Joe, and the guy looked confused a little bit, and I was like, "Yep, I don't believe that he's
Mm,
actually there." And then when it was like when they were having that argument, I
yeah.
was like, "Yeah, they're gonna have the reveal." So I'm kind of wished I was a little more dumbfounded because then I would have loved that surprise. I miss having surprises like that from shows and all that.
Mm,
So I'm kind of sad that that I caught on because I,
yeah.
I would have loved to be surprised because that I know that it's a good surprise. It's not like they did a bad job. It was just that was good writing
Mm,
because they didn't bring it out of nowhere just to be like, ha, now this caught you by surprise. No, it made sense, So it's just unfortunate that like the clues were a little. I don't even want to say it's a little too obvious. No, the clues were there, and I noticed the clues. So unfortunately, I didn't get to get surprised. That's what I would like to say. Good
yeah.
writing.
Yeah, and I did see online. I was watching some comments about it, and yeah, apparently some people did call it catch it early on. Um, I guess some people are just a bit more tuned to these sorts of things, right? But it
Mhm.
just is what it is. I mean, for me, yeah, I mean, definitely looking back on it when you kind of watch some of the recaps and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, you can see some of the kind of subtle clues here and there. You kind of notice a bit more. But yeah, for me, it was kind of like, yeah, just kind of watching it. And yeah, I guess maybe subconsciously you kind of realize he's not really interacting with other people. You do kind of realize that. But I wasn't really thinking of any that was any kind of big deal. It's just he's Joe's, he's Butcher's friend, and he kind of came in as this. Well, I think they said it was a CIA something or other. I can't remember the exact thing they used, but some kind of government thing to help with the soups, and so the fact that he wasn't interacting too much with other people, it didn't really seem too out of place,
Mhm.
especially when he's not really there that much when other people are around, like when he's with the boys, Joe's not really there. I think the only time you see him with other people was with Samir, I think. Most other times it's just Joe and Butcher in the room. So yeah, you do kind of notice he's not really interacting or speaking with anybody, but at the same time, I'm not thinking that was any kind of big thing. I was just like, all right, cool, it just is what it is. But then, of course, by the reveal comes, he just shouts at Rebecca. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that was done well. I thought it was done really well. Um, but yeah, let's talk a little bit about Joe and Rebecca, I guess, and Butcher, because I guess what it comes down to is got kind of whole kind of conscious thing. The angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other shoulder, kind of like the old school cartoons. What they used to do and that kind of thing. With Rebecca representing I guess his good side of things, and she is his humanity, so to speak, whereas Joe's representing his more ruthless side. The guy who would just do anything to anybody to get whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, that whole thing's just kind of for me, is just kind of interesting thing, just in and of itself. Like that's called, you find it's caused by his brain tumor. But these are both sides of Butcher. They're not I mean, it's not Rebecca in the end. It's not Joe in the end. These are still Butcher, and they're just representing his conflict in his mind of, he wants to help Ryan. He wants to, help resolve this whole thing, but at the same time, he does want to kill every soup on the planet without really thinking about it. And that's such a massive contrast in who he is between the ruthless guy and the guy who does care about at least a few people, and then of course by the end I feel like he kind of gives in a little bit to the darker side when he kills Victoria Newman, so I do feel like going into season 5, it feels to me that the Joe Kessler side, or the Negan. That's what I'm calling him. I'm calling him the Negan side of him. Because as far as I'm concerned, Joe Kessler is more Negan than Negan was Negan, So yeah, it did feel like he was giving him more to that side by the end. Or how did you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, it's plain cut that he turned over to that side. The moment like he had that interaction with Ryan, and he realized, yeah, Ryan, whatever has to be done has to be done. I don't think he's gonna go through with trying to kill Ryan or anything. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately only because I don't like when characters half step. I like when characters commit. So if we're gonna go with this side of like, hey, this character is gonna be edgy or bad, whatever, or anti-hero, then have him go all the way. Have him go all out. Same with like Homelander. If Homelander starts flipping out even more, like in the final season, he's like, fuck it, I'm going full force. Then have him go full force. No holding back, none of that. Have him go all out. Especially if it's the final season. But I get it. In reality, we can't really show kids getting killed, but I at least want Butcher, if he's going with this direction of like, I've lost all hope, I know what needs to be done. Ryan has, he's lost. Didn't have him go all out and really try to kill Ryan. But I'm gonna trust the process and see what happens with the writing, and see how it goes. I just hope it ends good. I don't want any half stepping. That's all I'm saying. Just no half stepping. I've seen too many shows where it's like the writer is afraid to really cross that line. And it's like, then don't do the setup. Don't go for the setup. Because when he kills Victoria, I was like shocked. I was a little upset that he killed her. I was like, because I like that character. And I felt like the way I killed her was just fucking brutal. It was just out of nowhere. And it's just like, bro, you could have done so many things. But I guess that was to cement in our mind that like he's lost all hope. And he's really decided, okay, they need to go. And I'm interested in how far he's gonna really take it, because this also means, okay, he may not be ready for it just yet, and he may be just giving them a chance to do whatever. But if you're going with this idea, because the entire time Joe is arguing that all of them have to go, it doesn't matter, they have to go. Then you have to get rid of Starlight, you have to get rid of Kumiko, so on and so forth. And he really loves Huey. Huey is like another brother to him. So he knows Huey is in love with Starlight, and these are people that he's been working with. And even though he doesn't care for Starlight, and I really hope they I'm fucking tired of. I said this last time. I'm tired of the whole bickering with Starlight and Butcher. I feel like they need to stop fucking writing Starlight as a parody of herself. So anyway, I'm really interested at how far he's going to take it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think going into to a season 5, like say, I'm not hopefully, like I say, no half stepping, no pulling punches. I've seen a lot of that as well, where you get this really cool setup and it just doesn't come through. I mean,
Mhm.
I think there's ways they can do it without necessarily having to kill everybody, right? There's always things you can do that don't feel like you just put in punches, and we'll leave that for the creators to figure out or what direction they want to go in. But apparently, I did see something about, and I don't see too much into it because there's a bunch of stuff all around. But I did see kind of a glimpse of something about in the comics. Apparently, it's Joe Kessler. Maybe so I could find it, but something about Joe Kessler is actually Billy Butcher in the comics or something like that. Now that being said, I know that the creators, like was it Eric Kipke and the people behind it, although they're using the comics as, of course, inspiration and sometimes very direct inspiration, they're not strictly speaking following the comics directly as well. But there is apparently something is about them being together. I'll see if I can find it while I'm just yapping away. Search that real quick. Yeah, so fans also believe that Kessler is meant to represent Butcher from the comics in his manipulation and genocidal hatred of Supes. Interestingly, Jeffrey D. Morgan portrayed Negan Smith from The Walking Dead, whose comic version has a close likeness in appearance and attitudes to comic Butcher. Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. I guess it was just something about how they look alike. Never mind. Anyway, anyway. But actually, speaking of that, though, like I say, I do feel like he is more Negan than Negan was Negan, and not to sidetrack too much into The Walking Dead. Hopefully, we could talk about it on another side. But I definitely feel like with The Walking Dead, they pulled punches on Negan a lot. And when it came down to it, like especially in the last few seasons of The Walking Dead, they pulled him back so much. And I get they wanted to make him more appealing as a good guy, and that whole thing to me was a bad idea. But yeah, this guy Kessler, I feel like this is how Negan should have been. Just
Well, I
that
mean, the thing
absolutely
is, when they
ruthless guy.
initially showed that Walking Dead episode where Negan did that big thing that introduces his character and everything, they did that just like the comics, with the exception of like one more, thing that happened during that.
Mm,
Um, the reaction of the people is what changed the course of the story, I believe. Me personally, only because like they used to have this talk show after The Walking Dead where um, some of the cast members will feature on the show, especially if they just been killed off. Sometimes they'll feature, and then they'll
mm,
talk with the audience and some special guests, as well as the host, of course, and just a whole discussion. And they'll have people call in who watch the show and like fans and everything, and they'll talk about it, and then they'll talk behind the scenes, just have a full discussion. And people were just devastated; they could not, fathom what they witnessed, because throughout the show, even though they had tragic moments, um, it wasn't brutal as much as it could have been. Negan was the one that really introduced that level of like um some reality brutality to the show. And that just rubbed them the wrong way. They weren't ready for that, because yeah, they showed people getting eaten up and everything, but that's what's expected. You don't expect someone like Negan to come around and did what he did, especially to somebody that's been around for so long. And then they
mm,
had so many damn teases of this character, I'm not gonna say who, of this character going through whatever they went through. And just for Negan to come around and take them out, the way how he did it too, they weren't ready for it. So unfortunately, instead of the show runners keeping their feet planted on the ground and saying, listen, this is what we're telling, you're gonna watch it anyway. And of course, some people would have quit because they just don't got the stomach for it. But who cares? You would have gained more fans. It would have been like a second breath. But instead, they backed down and they humanized Negan more. And yeah, I get it, in the comics, he changes a little bit, but not as much as they changed him in the fucking show. In the show, this motherfucker is basically picking flowers and all that.
mm,
Um, I didn't, and I've said it before. I don't like how if something traumatic like that happens, you need a long time before you can start to recoup. But almost in the very next season, they had them bouncing back within episodes. And I felt like that was such a, a spit in the face of everything that you worked up to that point. Because that's not how it goes. That's just not how it goes. It was just dumb because you could, like, I can't stand writers that are that scared. You create a universe. It's fiction, you know. You got control over how things go. Just fucking tell a story. You don't need to back down and have people dictate how it goes. Just tell your fucking story. And that's, again, it goes back to half stepping. Negan is not the type of person that will go ahead and let all that shit go down the way it did. And just like, all right, no, it would have been more brutality. I feel like if anything, if I was a showrunner, they would have fucking hated me because I would have, not to rant too much on Walking Dead much longer, but I'll close it with this. If I was a showrunner, I would have had them think, oh yeah, the gang is gonna go ahead and fight back, and then they get another person offed or fucked up. You don't even have to kill the person off. Just fuck them up really bad to where they're like, oh shit, okay, this guy's not playing. Let's stop.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but yeah, we could talk more about that in detail another time. But yes, no, I agree, and I believe I know which character you're referring to. But since we're not talking about The Walking Dead right now, we're trying to avoid spoilers on that particular show. But yeah, I believe I know who you're talking about, and yeah, I agree. But yeah, going back to the boys. Yeah, I do think Kessler, just in general. I mean, I don't know about the comics. It's not something I've read, so I won't speak too much on that. But as far as the show goes and me watching the show goes, I do feel like Kessler has been a really interesting addition to the series. And now that we know, that he's not real and he's, part of his Butcher's imagination, I hope that doesn't mean that we don't get to see him in following seasons. I do feel like we still could do with that kind of visual representation of what Butcher is kind of thinking and feeling, at least on some level. Same with Rebecca as well. I feel like those visual representations of his internal conflicts I feel like they could still be useful, even though we know that they're not real anymore. So hopefully we'll still see that, but that waits to be seen. But certainly in this season, the story came up with as was it Joe was when he said he saved him on the battlefield, and it turns out that's not true. It's somebody who he apparently left to die on the battlefield. So whether he's actually dead or not, I guess we don't fully know. But on some level, Butcher at least believes that he's dead, the real Joe Kessler, and perhaps that's part of the reason why as to what it came to his mind, because there is still that guilt somewhere deep down that he left someone to die on a battlefield, and till this day doesn't fully know what actually happened to him, but believes that that person is dead. There's a guilt there. Perhaps that's part of the reason why he manifested Kessler to somewhat absolve him of that guilt in some way. The manifestation of Kessler being alive and believing that he's alive was able to maybe absolve that little bit of guilt that he had, and that's perhaps why he's able to use Kessler as this person of all his really bad ideas. I want not bad ideas as in they're bad ideas, but bad ideas in terms of the more ruthless side. Once you don't have that guilt of leaving this guy on the battlefield no more, now I can be, over the top. Or perhaps there's maybe a sense of Owen on some degree as well. That kind of going back on what I just said, and maybe contradicts what I just said a little bit. Perhaps on some level, he does believe that he's actually dead, and the reason why I manifested Kessler is because he feels like if he has all these ideas of this ruthless side, and Butcher owes him for leaving him there, he kind of there's a compelling thing. What was the word? A compulsion to do it. So yeah, I do think it's very fascinating that the story they came up with as to who Kessler was, and the fact that he's most likely dead, though we don't fully know. But I do feel like there's something interesting in terms of Butcher's own either internal guilt, whether it's trying to pay him back in some way, trying to be like, I owe this person something, or using it as a way of absolving himself of the guilt that he feels, and doing that by, obeying the dark side. But yeah, there's a lot to be. I think you can garner from that. I feel like it'd be fascinating. It'd be fascinating to know what a psychologist makes of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the whole relationship between him and this imaginary person, or rather not imaginary, but
Well, yeah, pretty much.
whatever you want to call him.
It's an imaginary friend. I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love to view it perfectly as like the angel and devil on his shoulder. It's two sides tearing at him towards the end of his life, because he is going to die. And I feel like, that's just the two sides of Butcher. Like, this is, but represented by people, key people in his life. Of course, you could have had an opportunity to show his brother. I would have preferred that, honestly, than Rebecca, or at least one moment. I feel like they gotta have like a moment like that with his brother. Maybe in season 5, that's who shows up that stops him from crossing the line. Maybe he gets Ryan right where he wants him, and he's about to kill him, and then his brother shows up at the last moment, in his mind, and stops him or distracts him, and then Ryan gets that kill. Any number of things can happen like that, but I feel like it'll be a disservice to not show his brother coming up at the last moment. I feel like that would be a heartbreaking, like, that will, oh man, that, just thinking about it, it'll go ahead and like have people getting ready to tear up, because you could visualize it easily, where he gets distracted, and that's what causes him to either let Ryan get the killing blow, or distract him long enough for Ryan to get the killing blow. It has to be Ryan. If anybody kills Butcher, it has to be Ryan. Some people would say Huey, and I say, that wouldn't be a bad choice, but Butcher is going to die for sure. Like, there's no way they're going to have him live. He's on a warpath right now. Even that last scene where he's riding off in the car, and you see that Joe's in the back seat and just chilling. You see no signs of Rebecca. That's because, Butcher has decided, I'm going to give into this. Because he, that broke his heart. When he saw Ryan kill, what's her name, and then had no remorse and everything, he saw what what was the paranoia in his mind, where Joe was saying to him, this is going to be a little Homelander Jr. This is going to be a Homelander Jr. Kept saying that. That was the paranoia in his own mind. That's not Joe coming out of nowhere like his fucking ghost. No, that's Butcher. So you see these two sides arguing. All of that is Butcher. That's not actually, again, that's not actually them, these people. So I feel like all of that is well telegraphed. And in the end, he realized, okay, yeah, I got to kill this motherfucker.
Yeah,
now, I could be wrong. I don't know if he's for sure thinking I gotta kill Ryan, but I think he's definitely like, I'm going to cross that line, and if all the heroes die or whatever, fuck it.
Yeah, and I think it'd be interesting to see his brother show up in one of his conscious manifestations. I'm not sure his brother would represent a good side of him, though. And the reason for that is because I think I remember in one of the previous seasons, when they do like a flashback or something like that, the last time he saw his brother was angry at him for leaving him with his dad. and his brother, I think his brother committed suicide. Was if I remember correctly, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
his brother
his
committed
brother is
suicide.
more like but his brother is very similar to Huey. So, I mean, Huey's got mad at Butcher plenty of times. That doesn't stop him from being like the good side to talk to him. Butcher was an asshole, And now I'm not saying that Butcher was an asshole for leaving him with his father and all that. They had to go through their own trauma, whatever the case may be. That's a whole different thing, but nah, I still see his brother showing up as the voice of reason, trying to be, reason with him in something,
Well, what I
like,
mean
yo,
is,
you're
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, it was
I go ahead.
what I mean is that like his last image of him was his brother being angry, and if we're talking about Butcher's subconscious, then it's not really about what his brother was necessarily actually like or what he most likely would be, but more of how Butcher kind of manifests him. And he's, I think, if you're manifesting the angry side of him, the angry side of his younger brother in Butcher's head, then that isn't necessarily. I mean, I don't think he might be as bad as say Kessler, but yeah, I'm not sure he'd be say the good side that say Rebecca represents. Yeah, I feel like he'd be somewhere in the middle between Rebecca and Kessler. Maybe not exactly a halfway in between them, but I feel like if you're subconsciously remembering that the fact that your brother's angry at you, and then you kind of bring him up in your mind, then it's more like that's the version of his brother that's gets manifested as the imaginary friend, the angry version. Do it, or just kill him anyway. It's not like you care, you didn't care about me, that kind of thing, because he's just angry. So yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like if we talk about Butcher's subconscious, I'm not sure it's going to be the good version of his brother, more like the angry version of his brother.
But I feel like you gotta think about it like this: you know somebody for all your life, all their life, and you have one moment where things got bad. That doesn't erase everything that happened before. So I think
True, true.
um his character as a whole, like who his brother was as a whole, that's gonna reach out to him, because that's gonna be, and you're as you're reaching the last stages of your life, you start thinking about the past and all that, and wanting. And I feel like that's one of the things that he never got resolved. And I feel like that has to, if you're gonna really do good writing or great writing, that has to be something that needs to be resolved in a certain way. That has to, you're
Mm,
already bringing back the dead. You brought back Rebecca. You brought back some motherfucker we never heard about. Because as far as I remember, never heard of Joe before.
no, I don't
Never
believe
heard
so.
of
No.
Joe before. So if you're gonna bring back them, you need to bring back his brother, even if same aspect. Like I said, just needs to have a scene to come full circle where he could really be like, okay, like, because Butcher is dying, regardless of this whole super mutant shit or whatever. He's
Yeah, he's
dying
got a brain
already.
tumor,
That's
so
not.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
so
got
that's
less
not
than
gonna.
6 months to live.
Yeah, so that's not going to go away anytime soon. It's just the fact that now he could go ahead and do all this crazy shit. He's become a soup, but he's going to die. He's like a ticking time bomb.
Hmm.
So I feel like that will come full circle if they brought his brother back just to stop him, and that will excuse, like, because it is. I feel like for me, it would make Butcher look weak if he goes to try to kill Homelander, Ryan, whoever, and then he just gets fucked up, right? Because ain't no way that Butcher is gonna kill Homelander, um, unless it's like some teamwork, and he's not going to work as a team with them. No. And if he does, then what was the point of the whole killing Victoria? Like, you see what I mean? You have to have it make sense. And I feel like it will make more sense to have Butcher continue trying to be this lone wolf, going for the kill, and then he almost has the kill. He's about to finish the fucking mission, but then he gets, distracted by that one thing that he never had resolved. His life came back for him, and you get to see him, it's it'll be bittersweet because on one hand, it's like, damn, he didn't get to handle this thing that he probably should have handled, but this isn't the right way to go about it. You know, maybe even he gets distracted. Instead of Ryan getting the kill, it's Homelander that gets the kill. You know, maybe he's fighting Homelander and Ryan at the same time. Who knows? But either way, that could be the thing that pulls Ryan back. So therefore, his death isn't for nothing.
But also, don't forget there's a potential wild card with Soldier Boy still being alive, and so how does he factor into this whole thing? Because the last we saw Soldier Boy, he was is about to fight Homelander. He was he saw Homelander. I can't remember the exact words he used, but he basically expressed some kind of disappointment, like a weaker, a lesser version of him or something like that. But in that fight, he ended up hurting Ryan and pushed him away, and then Butcher ends up fighting with Homelander against Soldier Boy, and then when it was about to explode, it was Maeve that pushed him out the the window, and they fell, and then exploded. She survived, but didn't have her powers anymore. Rise off into sunset with her girlfriend, so we don't see her for this season. But then by the end of the season, we find out Soldier Boy is indeed still alive. So, how does that factor into it? Does he cause a distraction? Does he still want to kill Homelander? Does he even care about that whole thing? Does he want to do anything with the guys that? Actually, no. I think they got all the guys that messed him up in the first place. Anyway, I think they got all of them in season 3 when they went around killing all of his teammates or something. So yeah, he's killed all, if not most, if not all of them. So yeah, so what? How does he factor in? Does he still have beef with Homelander? Does he have beef with Butcher? Does he have beef with Maeve? Does he have beef? Does he even care? You know what I mean? Does he just be like, what? I don't even care no more. I just want to watch movies and eat pizza now. Maybe that's Soldier Boy's whole thing in season 5. I don't know, but the point is that that's a potential wild card. We talk about Ryan, we talk about Homeland, we talk about Butcher, and how that could be all resolved. But Soldier Boy, is now in the mix. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that could happen, a lot of things that areas they could explore, and I'm sure they're thinking about the best way to do it all. But yeah, still Soldier Boy. Let's not forget Soldier Boy just yet.
Yeah, I feel like Soldier Boy, like Homelander is still seeking approval. He still needs that love and acceptance. He needs something, and it's been missing for a while now. Like, he has nobody to turn to and say, yeah, I care about your opinion. I need your praise. So he's been lost in searching for that. Stormfront was the one thing that had him going, and then he lost her. So now he's just like stuck, and he's feeling unfulfilled. And again, he's getting older, so he's starting to realize his own mortality to a certain extent. So I feel like his psychology is kind of, and I mean, they done well with showing that. I wish they would have showed it a little bit more instead of wasting scenes on other bullshit, but it is what it is. I feel like he's still going to be searching for that from Soldier Boy, and I think at the same time he's going to be cautious of him, because there is going to be this fear. He's getting older and everything, and Soldier Boy doesn't seem to age. I don't know if that's just because of the ice thing, him being frozen and everything, or if that's just his DNA, one of the two. But either way, Soldier Boy is physically younger than Homelander. So they could go toe to toe, and if it comes down to stamina, Soldier Boy got it. So I think there's going to be that fear of that, and also because of just mentally, like, this is my father. He's the original. He came before me. I only exist because of him. I think Homelander still, it feels like that mentally, and that already puts him at a disadvantage. And I feel like I could see him trying to impress trying to impress his father, Soldier Boy, with everything that he's accomplished. Like, look at this, look at that. And Soldier Boy is, as much of an asshole as he is, he's an American, so he's all about America and everything. If he sees similarities to like dictatorship, like, you know, World War II era Germany, I think that's what's gonna make him sick. And he's gonna be like, fuck you, fuck this, hell no. And that's what's gonna make Homelander go like, yo, nothing I do, you know how hard I had to work for this and it still doesn't satisfy you? Like that's, yeah, I can see them going against each other. I cannot see them working together. And the first time he came around, I was hoping that they would team up. I was hoping that would work out, but yeah, they just showed way too many times that Soldier Boy is in his own lane. He's unfortunately, as twisted as it may sound, he's like an anti-hero, a bad anti-hero, but anti-hero.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like I know it's been said before, but is it true that he's basically like Captain America? In terms of like the all American wartime soldier, and even like to the whole kind of person out of time, kind of thing with Captain America being frozen, and similar thing with the Soldier Boy. So he's out of his own time and in a whole new world where the values and sensibilities of the modern world don't align with what his values and sensibilities are. And so yeah, I definitely feel like there is an element of like, yeah, if he sees things that don't necessarily align with what he believes are true American values, yeah, I think that is definitely a thing that he's gonna be like, no, not on my watch. not on my watch, cowboy. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we'd see him team up with Homelander. I feel like that seems a bit. I mean, like I said, I don't feel like I don't want to be telling creators how to create, and maybe they could think of an amazing way to do it, and it just blows our minds. But yeah, to my mind, I feel like that feels like a stretch. But I mean, it'd be interesting if like they figure out a way to have him team up with Homelander and make it make sense, because at the end of the day, not quite traditional family, but it's still father, son, and grandson, right? And even with old school American values, that is still something. May not have been done in the right way, so to speak, right? But it's still, he's still an offspring to him, and as is Ryan, and he might not share his ideas of like super domination, but there's got to be something in there with them being, related by DNA. So, never say never. Never say never.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, wild card. Wild card. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Frenchie and Kumiko now, because in the last episode, we didn't talk much about them, but I believe he did say something about not liking the fact that they kissed at the end. That they were kind of got a little romantic at the end. Was that right? I think you said that, right?
It's not so much about the kiss. It's just I don't like that now we're going backwards and saying, okay, now they're going to be in a relationship. I feel like this should have just been given a long time ago. We didn't need this whole fucking arc that they had. That was so fucking stupid. It just I really fucking despise that angle. Like that was such a waste of time. It did not make me feel any type of way. You're doing all this fucking storytelling of okay, Kimiko doesn't feel for him this way. Okay, and now he's gonna go heavy into the drugs and sex again. Oh, he found somebody. Oh, come to find out he did this one bad thing to them. What was the point if they're just gonna get back together? And it didn't even feel like when they did it, it didn't feel like, oh, finally. No, it felt like, what the fuck? If you felt this way the whole time, you could have just had like that. That's one of the weakest and laziest fucking things that writers can do. When it's like romantic comedies where all they needed to do was have a little fucking talk and things would have been resolved. Instead of having a little talk, we go through an hour and a half, but in this case, hours, where they do all of these things where it gets resolved in a simple conversation. She
Mm.
says, "Hey, I just thought that I wasn't good enough for you, but you are good enough for me. What do you mean? Done. What the fuck was the point?
Mm.
What the fuck was the point? All of that could, that's what makes it so bad because all of that, everything that led up to that moment could have been avoided if they just simply had that little fucking chat that lasted 2 minutes, if even that. That's why I say that was terrible, terrible, terrible writing. Terrible writing. Horrible. I fucking hate it. And I wanted those two to be together. I wanted those two to be together. The moment they had that connection and everything in the first season and second season, I was like, yo, I'm all for this. And then when Kimiko said what the fuck she said or whatever, I was like, what the hell? Why? I was so confused. I was like, why are we doing this? But yeah, like no, that shit was terrible. And even after that, when going backwards, when Kimiko made it seem like she didn't want to be with Frenchie, and then Frenchie reverted back to his old self, I felt like that's another bad thing in writing when you have a character regress. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, going backwards, it's it also plays in the character development because that's what people do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do go backwards and we do go back to our old ways or whatever. But he went backwards because she rejected him, and then she rejected him even more because now she's like, I don't like this old you. I like the other you. But then she still didn't get with him. Instead, she kept trying to push him to somebody else. So yeah, I fucking I really fucking hated that. Honestly, every damn scene with Frenchie and Colin, I was skipping. I gave it a chance at first, but then I was like, yo, this is fucking bad. This is bad writing. Because you could see what was coming a mile away. He's going to find out. He's going to find out. Either Frenchie will tell him or he's going to find out, one of the two. They're not going to keep it a secret. What are they going to do that's new and different? Nothing. Skip. Skip. So yeah, I really fucking hate that.
Mm.
Frenchie was terrible this season.
He I mean, I don't know if terrible's how I describe it. I mean, I guess he wasn't as involved. I think that's probably fair because
He
a
had
lot of
nothing
his,
to do besides make the fucking virus. That's
yeah,
it.
a lot of his scenes were around Kumiko and Colin specifically. Yeah, no, I think what you said is pretty spot on. I mean, personally, I didn't mind them getting together because they have been kind of built up to it for the last few seasons. Though perhaps, yeah, I think maybe the way it kind of resolved in this season, yeah, you probably could have, yeah. I mean, maybe something that at this point it's either leave it till season 5 and have it done then, or just don't bother. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. Um, yeah, I think the whole thing with Frenchie and Colin, it seemed to like come up in this really kind of big way that I mean, it is a big thing. He literally killed this guy's whole family. It's not a small thing, and now he's sleeping with a guy whose family he killed that doesn't recognize the killer. That's not a small thing. But then when it gets said that that's what happened, that's pretty much the end of it. That's pretty much the end of it. Like you don't see Colin again. And all right, so it's not going to have any kind of effect on this. It's just because that's not again. It's not a small thing. It's not like no, he stole his Tic Tacs. Like he killed his whole family. Like, and then you're sleeping with the guy, and then it's like you're just going to walk away and leave it there. Like, well, okay, like you're not mad, angry, pissed off, like you want to do something. You're just going to walk away and like quit your job and be an adult about it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it just seemed like is that it? Are you just going to resolve it there? I for what you said though, I do think that there were still some interesting moments, like something that Frenchie said when he was talking to Starlight about, do you believe in God? And she was like, I want to, I still struggle with it. And Frenchie was saying that I believe in God, and I believe that there are some sins that are not, that don't deserve to be forgiven. I did feel like that a whole thing gave us an insight into Frenchie a little bit in terms of how his mind works and how he kind of sees himself, and maybe perhaps why he makes some of the decisions that he makes, that he ultimately doesn't believe that he deserves any kind of forgiveness or happiness, because there's just some things that you just cannot let go. In fact, so much so that he turned himself in, which kind of probably should have done that to begin with, really, if that's how you felt about it. Like, why wait till you mess up even more? But all right, whatever. But yeah, I do think that is maybe a key part, a key factor in Frenchie's character, and what he believes. But then you take that part, and then you come into with Kumiko, and I get it. He likes Kumiko. Kumiko likes him, and he's a bit more open about it. She's kind of like, maybe not ready and a bit more closed off. But even by the time they do get together, like I say, I'm not mad at it. But at the same time, it's like, if you really believe and you don't deserve forgiveness, then what are you doing? What are you doing? And even like coming out of jail as well, like, Kumiko going to see him and he's refused to see her, but then somehow, Butcher manages to get him out of jail, and all right, So was Butcher saying that Kumiko didn't? I mean, well, Kumiko can't talk just yet, but I mean, was Butcher to him that Kumiko isn't? Like, why are you here? Like, so yeah, I don't mind it. I do feel like, yeah, there's maybe some parts that perhaps because it's what 8, 9 episodes, 10 episodes, it's a relatively short season. I mean, they're all the same season, same amount of episodes, I know, but in terms of like episodes just in general, because remember we used to get like 27 episodes per season. Now we're getting like 8 to 10 episodes per season. So yeah, perhaps more episodes were needed just to kind of flesh things out a bit more, to get more better understanding. Perhaps that's the issue. But yeah, I don't feel like certain things just felt like resolved too quickly, or resolved in a way that you feel like there's more steps in between where we last saw it and where they are. There's steps in between that we're not seeing, like they're just skipping bits. So yeah, that's maybe my issue with it. Like the fact that they got together, happy for you. Hope it works out. Probably won't because they're both screwed up, but it's TV land, so anything's possible. But yeah, more so that it does feel at times, maybe more so than other parts of the show, that you bring up these really, really dark, deep things that Frenchie's been through, that Kumiko's been through. Even with Kumiko talking about, going back to the whole, was it shining light thing, and seeing that person that she scarred. Again, it's like, so where is she? What's happening? Like, why are they just going away and you don't see them? I mean, it's like there's so much that is like, you were here, now you're here, but there's a whole in between that we just don't know. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like it was just this season. It felt like there was such a lack of focus, and it was almost like they were too busy thinking, yo, we got these characters, we got to do something with them. We have to go ahead and have this much screen time with this character and that character. So they just started throwing shit at the fucking wall. Me personally. The Kumiko storyline, that shit was trash to me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was just trash, uninteresting. I was not interested whatsoever. I thought it was trash. You could go ahead and be like sympathetic to her, but we already got past that point, or you should have done that earlier. I feel like that's a season 2 or 3 thing, not season 4. Kumiko at this point should be past that. Not some random girl shows up from the past that she scarred on the face. Why didn't she kill her? What happened? She's supposed to kill these people, right? So why isn't she dead? Why didn't we talk about that? You know, why did she not kill her? See, that was your time. Unless I'm skipping out on something and I need to rewatch it, that was your opportunity to be like, okay, Kimiko couldn't kill her. She didn't have the heart to kill her back then for X, Y, and Z reason. And that's how Kimiko left them or whatever the fuck went, you know, whatever happened, right? Or maybe they went to go and kill Kimiko when she refused to kill the girl, but then Kimiko healed. You could have told any number of stories like that, and it would have been like, okay, now I can see why. This is the one girl she couldn't kill for whatever reason, and maybe we could find out that reason. But instead they just was like, oh yeah, that's the girl that I fought when I was a kid, and we used to have to kill each other, and the first person to make a noise, they would get their throat slit. Well, she didn't get a throat slit, she got her face slit. She got $150. And that's it. So what the fuck? But anyway, this, you know, it was fucking stupid. They kill all the other people, no problem. But this one girl, she can't kill. What the fuck? If anything, why didn't you just kill her? Because you like, yo, I spared your life back in the day. Now you coming to kill me? Nah, you're dead. You know, but of course that would be bad writing. So it's like, what was the point? That's one thing I kept screaming about with Kumiko and Frenchie's story. What is the point of this? I do not feel differently about Frenchie. I don't give a fuck about Frenchie feeling depressed and this and that over his past transgressions, because guess what? He's already shown that multiple times in the past seasons. He's shown that he has regret. You know what was more compelling? Him having regret and anger about himself, about his friend, and letting them kids die. That was compelling. So you already peaked. You can't expect me to go ahead and feel any more sorry for him, because anything else is lower than that. I'm not going to go ahead and be like, oh man, the guy that he's crushing on in the meantime, because, you know, basically his rebound, he killed their parents or the whole family, but somehow they didn't fucking see him hiding under the bed. Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. No, honestly, I'm not budging. That was terrible fucking writing. I don't know who the fuck got that writing. This whole season has been filled with moments that I'm just like, what the fuck? Cut this shit out and make it 6 episodes. I don't give a fuck. But just cut those fucking moments out and let's focus on the good stuff. It's like when motherfuckers put raisins, like me, I don't know about you, but me, I'm the type of motherfucker that I fucking hate raisins. So it's like when you get some banana baked muffins, and them shit's delicious, baked perfectly, and then they put raisins in it. Now you gotta pick the fucking raisins out. You gotta peel it apart, pick the fucking raisins out, and then enjoy it. And then you still eat some raisins by accident. That's what this fucking season has felt like to me. So yeah, I didn't get to really dig into it because, you know, we didn't get into, but I even complained about the shit that I complained about. I still got a problem with that. But yeah, Kumiko and Frenchie have been the biggest disappointments of this season for me. Like, I'm like thoroughly pissed off because I like these characters. I love Kumiko. I really liked Frenchie early seasons, but fuck, man, fuck. This was so disappointing, such a waste of time, so fucking stupid. And again, I just feel like a lot of these characters have become parodies of themselves, shells of their former selves.
I just need to sidetrack just a little bit on something that you said. And we'll come back to the boys in just a little bit. Just a little sidetrack. Are you allergic to raisins, or you just don't like the taste of raisins?
I really fucking hate raisins.
Okay, but it's not an allergic thing. It's not like they'll kill you or anything like that. Okay. No. In that case, just chew it. Just fuck that. Bite, chew.
Fuck that.
And swallow. That's all you gotta do. Be a man. Okay? Be a man. Yeah, bite, chew, swallow. Yeah. Drink some water.
Hey, listen, people are not drink some water. People are not allergic to fucking roaches, but you don't see people eating roaches unless
bite, chew, swallow. That's all you gotta do. Drink some water if you have to. Bite, chew, swallow. Bite, chew, swallow. Bite, chew, swallow. I know when I was a kid, I actually didn't like raisins too much. I mean, I don't necessarily like them now. To be fair, like they're not. I mean, yeah, if given a choice, I'll probably choose without. But yeah, if you give me a cake with raisins, I'm gonna eat the cake. I'm not taking the raisins out. I'll just eat the cake, and I don't hate the taste of raisins. I don't necessarily find it disgusting. I just don't, strictly speaking, like them. It's kind of like that. But yeah,
No, I hate them.
I'll
So
eat them.
and that's
I'll
how
eat
I
them.
felt like this show is, the season is basically that.
So
I hate
Frenchie is the
these fucking
raisins.
moments.
Well,
Yep.
Frenchie and
I hate
Kumiko's
I
moments are
hate
the
these fucking
raisins.
moments. And I can't tolerate it. Some things where it's like, you know, there's certain things where it's like I don't really like for example, Butcher and Starlight arguing. I didn't like those moments. I thought they were annoying, but I watched it. I didn't skip it. So that's the difference of like when I'm just tolerating stuff. I'm just
Mm,
tolerating it. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit with the Deep and Noir. I wanted to see more of them, but I wanted to see it
mm,
less of like jokey, like, hey, we're don't get me wrong, funny moments, but I wanted to see more seriousness from them a little bit more,
mm.
just
You
a
know what
little
though?
bit.
Actually, with that though, because I feel like because with the Deep specifically, like he's kind of been the butt of the joke for a while. For the last few seasons, he's kind of been, the guy that gets dunked on. The comic relief character amongst the seven for the last, well, pretty much all the seasons really. But there was a moment in season 4 which I felt like had he not been the butt of the jokes, it would not have worked so well. And that was the moment. It was a moment when he's talking to Noir, and I think Noir needed some advice on something, and he says something like, "Yeah, look, I know when you look at me, you might think I'm cool or whatever, but I get it. People actually think this of me, or people think this of me, and they laugh at me behind their back, and but I can't remember the exact words right now, but he was talking about like when he does something, like when he kills somebody, or when he gets to that point where, the way it was just more the way he said it, where he just said it in the most seriously deadly way, right? Where I feel like had he not been the butt of the jokes, that moment would not have worked. Had he been a more serious character and he did that, it's just been just another moment. But because he said it in that way, and because you've seen him be the butt of the joke, it's kind of like this thing where it's like, sometimes people try to act like things don't phase them. Things are, they're just this character. I'm this guy. I'm just I'm jovial. I'm nice, but they know that people talk shit about them behind their back. They're just not saying anything. They know it, right? And when that moment comes, when that time comes, when they gotta do something, like it's not joke man coming out. You know what I mean? It's not the comedian coming out. It's the killer coming out, and it just felt so serious and real when he was saying that. But I don't think you get that feeling. You don't get that coming across had he not been the butt of the jokes throughout these seasons. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you mean. I'm just talking about for this season. I wanted more seriousness from him, and that's what I was talking about. Like when he had those interactions with Noir, because has become like a confidant to him in a way. I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for him to finally have somebody to talk to, and we get to see what's going on in his mind. We've
Mm,
seen so much of him being a joke and everything, and all of that. But this was the moment where we could go ahead and dive deeper into, his psyche and everything, how he really feels about things. Like, how does he really feel about his interactions with Homelander and all that? We could go ahead and interpret that, but how afraid is he? How angry is he? This was the time to really have him talk to Noir and like have and you could develop this new Noir too through that. But
mm,
instead they sacrificed it on a lot of jokes, and yeah, you have that little hint of like, yeah, when you kill somebody, blah blah, you know but then they end it with a joke, and then it comes back with the punchline later on, like the payoff. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I feel like there were so many missed opportunities just for the sake of a cheap laugh.
mm.
And You got all this potential. I'm not saying you got to write a masterpiece. The Boys is this raunchy, uh, dark comedy, right? But at the same time, you put so much work into developing some great characters, and great plot points and everything. Just what the fuck is what's the difficulty of like just putting a little more effort into it? That's all. You got a fucking story, just tell it. Stop doing like cheap little fucking jokes and cheap little tropes of plot points. Like again, the Kimiko and Frenchie thing, boy. I really fucking hate that. I think that was the worst part of the season for me. Honestly, those two, just their own separate stories, and then them coming together. Shit was awful to me. I really didn't like it, and I wanted them together. That's the thing. I'm not mad about them being together. I'm just saying what led up to that. The whole journey of it. It didn't, and the
Mm.
payoff. No, no, awful. Awful. I could rant all day about it. Like I really fucking hate that. I feel like that had to be one of the worst moments of the series for me personally.
Yeah. You know what? About well, most of Frenchie and Colin really that didn't um add up to me. At least not in my mind. And perhaps I'm thinking about it, overthinking this too much. But we know that Frenchie killed his family, and we know that he was hiding under the bed. And they don't say how old they are in the show. I know that, but Frenchie does seem to be quite a bit older than Colin, at least going by the way they look. He seems to be quite a bit older than Colin. And again, they don't necessarily say how old they were or how long ago these things were. So, again, I'm probably assuming a bit here as well. But if, French was working for this mafia girl, and that was before Butcher, I'm assuming he was an adult when he was being sent to kill that family, and Colin would have been a child or certainly relatively really young. I'm thinking because it's not we're not talking about something that happened last week. There's this supposedly a while ago. And now, I mean, yeah, maybe I get that they're both adults now; they could do what they want. But I don't know that seems like. I mean, it's kind of weird that you're hooking up with a guy whose family killed just anyway. But a guy whose family killed and that person was a child potentially when you killed their family. That's all the way off. You know what I mean? Like that. But like I said, I might be assuming too much there because they don't really say how old they are or things like that. But going by what was said and how old they look, that's how it seems to me that this guy was probably a child when you killed his family as an adult. And now you're hooking up with him. Yeah, no. It's just wrong on so many levels. Like it's just no.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, again, just that whole plot point, um, like everything about it, even down to describing what you just did. That whole aspect of it. It just digs it deeper into a hole. It was fucking old, boring. It was lazy. I'm pretty sure that the writers weren't even thinking that deep into it at the time. They just thought, "Oh man, wouldn't this be cool?" But then we gotta make it more tragic. Have him actually be there. Why did he survive? And again, yeah, why did he survive? If you
Hmm.
killed the whole family, you killed his sister, you killed his mom and dad, and all that shit. Why didn't you kill him? You know damn well he's there. Like
Yeah,
it's
come
not
back
like you
later or
came
something.
into
If you didn't find him at the
exactly.
day, why don't you kill him later?
Because at that point, then why'd you kill his sister? Oh, because she was there. Was his sister like fighting you? Like, you're telling me you couldn't just smack her in the head like, hey, cut it out. There was no point. So yeah, man, nah. I thought that was it was stupid too because then you could say, unless his sister was older, right? Unless his sister was an adult, then you could say, okay, so Frenchie killed a kid, you know? Um, but whatever. Whatever.
Mm,
right? I just thought it was fucking awful. Like, I'm gonna chill because like I really fucking hate that whole plot point.
mm,
I really hate it. Like, it was so fucking stupid. It was trashy. It was just sickening. Um, it made me lose respect for the character also because the moment you discovered that, you should have stopped it. You should have just stopped it, cut off ties. You didn't have to be there. You didn't have to be at the fucking place that he's working at, you
mm.
know? Um
Walk
no.
away, leave it alone.
Exactly. You don't do shit like that. Like I don't know. I lost respect for Frenchie as a character. The writers were really on some fuck shit this season. They really were.
It'd be kind of interesting, maybe kind of funny. If right at the end of like season 5, like right at the very end, where I don't know, Frenchie, he's released from his mind control. He's maybe about to get married to Kumiko, about to say "I do," and then you just hear like a gunshot, like pop, and he gets shot in the head, and then you see Colin standing there, like "Remember me, motherfucker!" Yeah,
Well,
just
at
comes
this
out of
point with
nowhere and
these
shoots him in
writers,
the head.
at this point with these writers, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's like Billy Blanco from the Bronx. Do you know?
Yeah,
It's an old school reference. What's the movie?
New Jack
Carlito's
City.
Way. Carlito's
Oh,
Way
okay.
with Al Pacino. Is it
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
80s? No, 90s film. 90s film. Is it 80s or 90s? It's one of them anyway, but it's an old school film. Carlito's
Nine.
Way.
Well, I think it's 90s.
Yeah, it was that Al Pacino plays like a reformed kind of gangster. Well, trying to reform as a gangster, I should say. As you can imagine, it probably doesn't go so well because it wouldn't be a movie otherwise, right? But yeah, really good film though. Really good film. If you've not seen it, definitely recommended. But yeah, the ending. Oof. Let me not spoil it just in case. But let me see here. Carlito's Way, 1993. So yeah, 90s film, early 90s.
Hmm.
90s film with Al Pacino and Sean Penn and Louise Guzman, who was in every movie ever made. I swear that guy, like, if there's a movie that exists, Louise Guzman's probably in it. Like, he's in everything, like, literally. Small characters, big characters, he plays every, like, maybe not so much now, but there was certainly a period of time. I'm getting a bit off topic now, no, but there was a period of time where I swear Louise Guzman was just literally every movie. Like he played a cop in one movie, he's playing a cook in this movie. He was just in everything. You watch a movie, he's in there somewhere, you know. But anyway, big up Louise Guzman. He's a great actor too. So shout out to shout out to all of them. But yeah, the boys. What was we talking about? So we just talked about Frenchie. Talked a little about the Deep. Let's talk a little bit about A Train, actually, because I think that he had a very well. He's had a very interesting story from the very beginning, but it does feel like it's coming full circle to some degree with season 4. In the beginning when we introduced A Train, he's literally just like killing Chewie's girlfriend, which is how the whole thing starts. It was an accident, we know, but then he didn't seem to have much remorse for it. He only apologized because he kind of had to, as a corporate thing, but he didn't really seem to care that he did it. So yeah, it was an accident, but he was definitely an arsehole in the beginning about how he handled it and that whole thing. And even things like with his girlfriend Popclaw, how he killed her because she was becoming a bit too much of a liability, and but that's perhaps the starting of him breaking a little bit. But then of course there's times where Starlight helped him out where she didn't have to, or Huey helped him out where he didn't have to, and of course his brother, who's been talking to him throughout the whole thing, instilling all that in his mind about who he was before and what they were doing before and things like that. So he's had a lot of like little bits of things feeding him all throughout this time where he's had his own kind of conflicts about what he's doing and who he is and stuff like that. And then by the time we now get to season 4, where he's been helping MM by feeding him some information, and now he's very much out of the closet, so to speak, as the guy who's the leak. So yeah, I do feel like A Train's story, the A Train to Africa story. I know he's not quite going to Africa just yet, but who knows? Maybe that's where he's ending up. But I do feel like his story throughout the seasons does seem to be coming, maybe not full circle, but it does seem to be coming in some kind of circle in terms of how it started and where he is now. What do you think of A Train's journey?
I really like it. Some people were mad about him kind of like seeming like he was gonna go good and then going bad again.
Hmm.
But again, that goes back to what I said before. If you do it right, regression is good. It's character development because um it doesn't mean that they're gonna be stuck in that way. It's just a part of stories. We as people sometimes go backwards. And sometimes you do have to go backwards in order to go forward because I feel like with A Train, with him going backwards, he realized, what did I gain from this? I don't feel any better. Yeah, I feel a little safe, but at the same time, I'm still scared. I'm still stuck with this terrible feeling, and I lost the opportunity to escape. And I think that's also speaking to like the tragedy of like his whole thing is to run, right? Because he's like trying to get away, he's trying to escape and try to get to a better spot. Um, and I'm really worried about for his character because it doesn't have to necessarily end good for him. And if it doesn't end good for him, it's like, yeah, you've done a lot. Here's the thing: even though he's trying to be a good guy, he's trying to be better and all that, he really did some fucked up shit. You know, even this season, he did some fucked up shit. And yeah, you could argue and say, well, he was forced to do that. Either way, he did fucked up shit. Because you in the, I think it was somebody that said it to him, and it's a cliche thing to say, but it's still a lot of truth behind it. You always have a choice,
Hmm.
right? And I think that's one thing that his brother was trying to tell him. You always got a choice. He may not have said it directly, but trying to convey that in so many ways. And A Train's excuse is that he doesn't have a choice, or I have to do this, or I have to do
Hmm.
that, or you don't get it, you don't understand. And it's like, no, almost everything in his life he had a choice. And, you know, instead he took the easy way out. So now that he's trying to stand and be his own man and everything, um, I feel like with him, the 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 most logical end for him is he's gonna die a hero. I feel like that if the writers are on their A game,
Hmm.
that's gonna be the ending for A Train. He's gonna die a hero. And I'm not saying that him dying is it has to be that or it's not good writing. No, you could have him, ride off in the sunset and it still be good writing. It's about the execution of it. But I
Hmm.
feel like
For sure.
logically, it makes more sense for him to end up dead as a hero because he's crossed the line. He's gonna get too close to the fire. There's no way that he's gonna be able to escape Homelander like that. It's gonna be too much. It's gonna be too much for him. Especially, because he could run away and leave everything behind and be fine. But what would that say about the character? What would that say about his transformation? What would that say about his journey?
Hmm.
He's gonna have to come back and do something and save people, and whether that be his family or whatever. I feel like it's gonna be really tragic to show it like he comes back to save, the boys and everything, Huey and them, and they're telecasting this on the fucking news or whatever, and he gets killed. And from home, his family got to see him, like his nephews and his brother got to see him you know, save people, be a fucking hero and save all these people. It doesn't have to be just the boys that he saved. I'm talking about people in general, because
Hmm.
obviously some shit is gonna go down. And didn't see him die as a hero. That's gonna be tragic, but good writing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a. I feel that's. I mean that sounds to me like a possibility, especially with his nephews, because like there was that bit where he talked to his nephews about some stuff that he did, and his brother comes along and is like, no, you don't want you hang around no more, telling the truth and all that kind of stuff, because his brother's at this point, very angry with him, and has reasons to be. Um, So yeah, and also, there's other scene where he saved, I forget the dude's name, he took that guy to the hospital, and then that kid saw him, and he was talking about that feeling that he got from when that kid
Yeah.
saw him, like about no fanfare, no social media, just somebody seeing him do a good thing, and the look in his eye, and now he lit up, and that meant something to him. So yeah, the idea that yeah, I mean, I think the last we saw of him, he ran to, what was it, Canada or something? I can't remember. He ran to some other
Yeah.
country.
Canada.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think he's staying there. Maybe he has to come back because yeah, he's on his hero arc now. He's been in his villain era, now he's in his hero era. So yeah, he has to come back and deal with Homelander and the other members of the Seven that maybe not, well, not so much other members, mostly just Homelander really. That and he's definitely not as strong as Homelander. He's not as powerful as Homelander. Doesn't have this laser eyes. He may be fast. He's probably faster than Homelander. I don't.
He's definitely faster.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely faster. I feel honestly, I just thought about it. I feel like they might create like that virus or whatever, but it has to be directly injected into Homelander, and I feel like A-Train is gonna be the only one that can do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he gets killed by a Homelander. I feel like that. They don't have to end it like that, but I feel like that'd be one thing.
I mean, something like that could be interesting because if you remember, Justice League, where you got Superman and you've got the Flash, and effectively Homelander is based on Superman, whereas A-Train is kind of based on the Flash, speedster and the all-round hero, right? And even though there's a scene where Flash is kind of running around Superman, and Superman is able to just see where he's going, like to kind of slow it down in his mind and not kind of anticipate where he's going. So like even though A-Train is faster, or faster than Homelander, and he might be the one that has to do it because maybe he's the only one that can do it. Also, he may not be able to do it, if Homelander's kind of on his A game, so to speak, and able to just be like, no, I can see you coming. I can see you coming. I can anticipate it. And from his vision, whatever. Or so. Yeah, I mean, Homelander versus I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk in terms of Homelander wins easily, because end of the day, it's about who's smartest, right? Homelander isn't particularly intelligent, but then I don't know, maybe neither is A-Train. So right, yeah, that could be an interesting thing if they do something like that where they need to inject it into Homelander directly, and the only person fast enough to potentially even get close to Homelander is A-Train, but then he's not necessarily fast enough to really get that close to Homelander, because Homelander is, well, I assume anyway, I don't think they've shown it specifically, but just based on the fact that he's based on Superman, probably able to kind of anticipate that kind of movement, and just catch him out,
I mean, as far as like speed, I never seen Homelander really move as fast as A-Train. And mind you, A-Train is even faster now that he has that new heart. So now he's at peak condition again. So I feel like he's definitely faster than Homelander. Yeah, I do hear what you're saying about, he's supposed to be like Superman and Flash and everything, but I think when it comes to these two, it's different. Because he's able to if that was the case where Homelander is faster or whatever, I don't think A-Train would have been able to do what he did when he saved Mother's Milk. Because remember, he had to go into that place without being seen, get Mother's Milk, and run to the hospital, all that.
yeah, MM.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not so much that he's fast. I don't think Homelander necessarily needs to be faster than an A-Train. In fact, he probably isn't, like you were saying. To my mind, I don't think they've tested out his speed, but I'm assuming he probably isn't faster than A Train. But I don't think he has to be, because if you can anticipate a movement, like if you know somebody's coming, and we know that Homelander can, like, he's got super hearing, so he can hear things from like next room or ages away or whatever. So like, there's a very much good chance that he can anticipate that he's coming for him and can catch him out that way. Not necessarily be faster, but just be ready for it.
I mean, even with the super hearing, that goes back to him getting mother's milk. I feel like when it comes to Homelander's super hearing, he has to be listening for it, because there's, it's probably that he's gotten used to having to block it out. Because even with that situation with Huey, remember when Huey was in the vents, he didn't hear Huey in the vents. The only reason why he found out that Huey was in the vents was because the sweat dripped on him, and that caused attention. What the fuck? I think he has to be focused on searching and hearing, because even going back as early as season 1, he didn't hear Frenchie in the not Frenchie. It was I forgot who the fuck was in the back seat, or the back of the truck. I think it was Butcher. He didn't hear them in the back of the truck or whatever the fucking case may be. He could have heard if he was focused, but it was. And I mean, even then, you could probably argue that it was limited or maybe just bad writing, one of the two, because he was focused on trying to find translucent at that point, but he just didn't hear certain shit that he was supposed to hear. Because if I remember correctly, Butcher was behind a fucking. He was either in the back seat, or he was behind a fucking dumpster, one of the two. And the only reason why they got away with that was because one, he didn't hear them, and then two, Frenchie had his old girl go ahead and blow up that one thing, that one place that she was at.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. So, I guess it could come down to, can Homelander anticipate it? Can he know to anticipate it and be focused on listening out for specifics of A Train coming? I guess it could come down to that. And well, I mean, he's got Super Sage on his Sister Sage on his side, at least for now. So perhaps that could be a factor into how much Homelander could anticipate A Train or anybody else coming for him.
Yeah.
And assuming he even pays attention to Sister Sage, because as we've seen before, like, he can be a bit in his feelings about certain things and throw tantrums. And yeah, that was part of Sister Sage's plan. But if she's trying to tell him about, okay, look, this guy's coming for you and you need to be ready, and he's not paying attention, or he's not listening, or he thinks he's stupid, or maybe he fires her again before she even tells him, well, I guess it's all a lot to there's many directions it could go.
Yeah.
Many directions it can go for sure. But A Train's whole journey, I think, so far has been really good, though. I'm really interested. I think he's definitely been amongst the more interesting characters throughout the 4 seasons. And where he is right now, to me, makes a whole lot of sense in terms of how they've developed him, the kind of things he's been through. I feel like a good resolve. Well, let me not say good resolve, because again, I'm not. However they do it is waits to be seen, and we'll decide whether we like it or not, right? But in terms of what I'm thinking right now, a good, say, happy ending for A Train specifically would be, of course, to resolve tensions with his brother, right? Because they did that thing with was it the Blind Side spoof with Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
Will Ferrell, the white savior movie, I'm coming to get you out the hood, that kind of thing. that whole spoof, that was hilarious. But even when they're pitching that in season 3, he was like, look, my brother helped me, and of course his brother, I think they did mention one time his brother apparently worked at Vought, and he left because he just felt like it wasn't really for him. So I do feel like a good result would be, of course, he's not with the Seven no more, because literally betrayed him, but somehow reconciling with his brother, and maybe, I don't know, setting up some kind of organization to help people, not necessarily help people get out of the Seven Up, because I think Starlight could probably have that handled, but maybe back to kind of what his brother was doing with helping people around their neighborhood, and being kind of a voice for people who don't necessarily always feel like they have a voice, So I feel like that could be a good kind of happy ending result for A-Train. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also feel like this type of show that doesn't necessarily do too many happy endings either. So I don't think we'll get that. I mean, hopefully A-Train has a happy ending, but yeah, I reckon he's probably is gonna die, like you say, like he's probably gonna end up dying.
Yeah,
and it probably won't even be like a cool death either. Like, oh, his nephew saw him save somebody, and they saw the hero that their uncle could be. It's like, no, he probably ends up getting killed in some brutally dumb way that nobody sees, and everybody thinks he's just some scumbag traitor. Nobody.
I mean,
the hero side of him never gets shown. No matter. It's probably gonna be something like that. He's gonna do some really cool heroic stuff, but nobody sees it.
Man.
But yeah, he's had a good run. Literally.
Yeah.
All right, who else can we talk about on this particular episode? I feel like we've talked about all the. I mean, all the characters are important, of course. Let's be clear on that. But I feel like we've talked about all the major big characters. So it's just some of the, I guess, co-stars left to speak on a little bit. So let's have a few words for the best co-star ever, in my opinion. Can you guess who it is?
Huey?
Huey's not a co-star, come on.
That's what he feels like this season. Definitely this season.
Ashley. Let's talk about Ashley.
Okay.
Ashley. I like Ashley a lot. I think her character throughout all the seasons has been great. She's very much representative of the person who has a job that doesn't want to lose it, that is scared to lose it, is terrified of her boss, is scared to agree, scared to disagree, stays there because I think that one time she was about to leave and ended up staying because she just felt like, no, if I leave, I'm going to get killed. And she probably would have, right? But yeah, she's very much the scared employee, the abused, psychologically abused employee. She's in a high position, but it means nothing, right? She's the CEO, I think, of the company, but it means nothing. She's not in charge at all, and she knows that, right? She's not there because she knows she's not there because she's done a great job. She's there because she can be controlled, and she doesn't want to be controlled. I think that's somewhat clear. By the fact that she's stressed out all the time, literally ripping her own hair out. But she's going along with it because she is scared, right? She is absolutely terrified of Homelander and what he might do to her. And it got to a point in this season where she's so terrified that she ended up shooting up the V into her own system. We don't see what her powers are just yet, or if she even survived it. I think she does. It looks like it, but I don't think they've really confirmed to my mind. They certainly don't see what her powers are, but yeah, she is a very terrified employee, but she's been played brilliantly throughout all 4 seasons. So yeah, he's a character very much in the background, but maybe foreground to the background, to be fair. And it's just been great throughout everything, and I think she's been played brilliantly. I think be interesting to see what her powers turn out to be, though. So that waits to be seen. Whether she gets, I don't know, some kind of hair growth powers or something, Well, I mean, we know not everybody gets the cool powers because if you remember in the animated series where they showed the place where some of them get the powers that nobody cares about, so it could be something like that. We don't know. but yeah, Ashley actually does have a last name, by the way, and I just forgotten what it is, but Ashley does have a last name. um, but yeah, what do you think of Ashley Barrett? Ashley Barrett. What do you think of Ashley Barrett throughout the Boys season 4, or just the Boys in general?
I like her character too. Um, I feel like her powers is gonna be something monstrous. I feel like that's why. Well, I mean, they already kind of alluded to that with her head bulging and everything. We didn't really get to see her fully transform, but I think it's gonna be monstrous. She's gonna be grotesque looking but powerful. That's what I would imagine. But knowing the boys, they're gonna play it up for jokes. But she has to have something where she could be protected or protect herself, like, because then what would be the point? So I do think that she's gonna be something like she's gonna look like a monster, but at the same time she's much more safe, powerful, even, but nothing on the scale of Homelander, of course, but something where she could, you know, stand on her 2 feet. She could fight the deep, for example, and survive. Um, but as her character and everything, I really liked what they were doing towards the end. Um, like where she wants to escape and everything, but she's just too damn scared. Um, I don't like that they killed off Ashley too, but whatever, I
Of
guess.
Ashley, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't go ahead and say, "Oh, that's terrible writing," because she wasn't really much of a character. But still, whatever.
Yeah, kind of a
Uh,
shame. Was it new Black Noir killer because they were looking for Ashley? Well, he did get Ashley, just not the Ashley they meant. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
oh
So
well.
it is what it is. But back to Ashley's. Like she is a good character. I do like you know, getting into her mental and seeing her, transform a little bit more. Because at first she wasn't sympathetic, she was an asshole and everything. But they start diving deeper into her, and you get a little, you could go ahead and fill in the gaps. You don't need everything, you know, told to you like you're a kid. You could develop your own ideas of how she ended up this way, and it's insinuated. Um, so
Excuse
like
me.
Mhm. So with my idea of her, I think it's alluded to quite nicely that she worked her way to the top, and this was the way how she figured this was the way to the top, being this this bitch and all of that she had to be this way, and then she had people that used to talk down to her and everything, but then she started talking down to other people that were below her. This is how she learned. It's easy to kind of come to the idea of like this is how she developed to be who she is, and now she's in a very vulnerable state. And of course, when they start killing off everybody, that's when she's like, "Fuck," and it's kind of you kind of feel for her, but at the same time, I you know I don't know. I feel like my frustration with this season is that there are too many times where it just goes for the laugh, goes for the laugh, goes for the laugh. And I have to tell myself, this is a dark comedy. So, take it a little easy. But like when she got her little revenge, like when she shat in Homelander's toilet and then flush, I felt that was cheap. I didn't like that. I don't know. I didn't like that. I didn't like
Yeah,
that. But
but it's also
it's
kind of
not. It
like all
wasn't.
you can do, doesn't it? Like it's yeah, it's a bit of a like aha whatever. But I think in her mind, it's like, what else can you do to this guy? You know what I mean? When you feel like you got to do something to
But
kind
at the
of
same time,
but what else can you do, right?
logically, it doesn't make sense. Um, because if we're going with Homelander will go ahead and figure out who the fuck did it. You'll be able to fucking tell that it's her. He has super smell. Like you don't even have to say, "Oh, well, you be as nasty as saying, oh, well, he could smell the shit inside her." No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he could tell that she was in there just by her perfume or whatever, that she was in his room at one point.
Mm.
And why would you even risk that? You know, and Ashley is smart enough to figure that out on her own. So I feel like a lot of times the writers, they were sitting down, they were writing, and this is just my theory on it. My assumption is that they were writing down. They said, so we need these two characters to have this point. How do we get there? Like, well, how about she just takes a shit in his fucking toilet? And they laugh about it and they say, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, let's write it. I feel like they did that way too many times this fucking season, man.
I mean, yeah, no, I see that. I see your point on that. I mean, for me, it's more like, okay, maybe there was something else she could have done, like if you really get into it. But my feeling is more so like in her mind, like she's kind of pissed off at her boss. She knows this guy can kill her. She's probably. I'm sure she is smart enough to realize that Homelander could probably figure it out easy enough by the perfume or whatever and things like that. But then it's more like that. I guess it's that feeling of. I don't know if you ever had a job or where, I mean, you've had jobs. I kind of stopped talking at the wrong moment. Where if you ever had a job where, or any kind of position where, you know, somebody's pissing you off, like a boss or whatever, and there's so little you can do. At least part, I mean, there's always something you could do. Let me back up a little bit. If you ever have a job where your boss is pissing you off, there's always something you can do. Let me be clear on that fact. But in terms of how you feel at the time, you feel like there's nothing you can do, right? You feel like there's nothing you can do about it. So you're just kind of taking it. But there's a point where it's like you want to do something, and the only thing you could do is just something super petty. You know what I mean? Just something really petty, because you know you can't really, because you kind of feel like you can't do anything. That's what I imagine was going through her mind. She just wanted to do something. So it's stupid, but it's just something. You know what I mean, right? Because what else can you do?
I feel like there could have been other things that would have been smarter. Like she could have did, if you could have still had a cheap laugh and had to be logical. Have her do something where she posts something about Homelander online, you know, or leak some information about him.
Sure,
Little
but then
things like
something
that.
like that would be far more detrimental. I mean, I feel like you also got to
Um,
consider that it's not necessarily her being logical in that moment. You know, like it's a very much an emotional decision. You know what I mean? Like it's not like
yeah,
she's
but on at the same
and so,
time, she is terribly afraid,
yeah. So
right?
like yeah, exactly. So
Her
if you're
fear
leaking things
is
online, then the
no,
repercussions of something being leaked online is
I'm not
far more severe than
no,
taking
I'm
a
not
dump in the
talking
toilet.
about no, I'm not talking about anything serious where she could get caught. Like I'm talking about little minor things or even trolling, like on like how Stormfront used to troll. Anything like that. Because what is it? Even like how she got so and so killed because he didn't want to go ahead and submit to her anymore because he lost interest in her. He got her killed. I mean, she got him killed, saying that he was the one that was leaking information, like personal information. I'm not talking about personal information like that, something where obviously it's somebody on the inside that knows. I'm talking about something that is like, you know, anybody could just assume that, whatever, just anything petty.
Mm.
She could have did something safe like that. Imagine if fucking Homelander started hearing about like these memes about him or whatever the case may be. Any, you know, they could have did any number of things. My point is they could have did any number of things besides her taking a shit in his toilet. I just thought that was stupid. And I feel like the only reason why she had to take a shit in his toilet was because she needed to catch A Train in that room, and A Train needed to catch her in that room, and they need to have that conversation. But you could have went about a different way of them having this conversation. So yeah,
I mean, yeah. No, I mean, like, there's always something else you can do. That's the thing. Yeah. I guess I didn't mind it. Yeah, I guess it bothers you a bit more than me. I mean, I thought it was kind of like, yeah, it's silly. I ain't saying that. It's a bit silly and whatever. It's a cheap laugh and this, that, and the third. But yeah.
here's the thing. This is why I get.
Sometimes you just gotta be petty.
This
Sometimes you
is
just gotta be petty.
my problem is if I get that as a dark comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you're being If you're gonna get a laugh from me, get a laugh from me. Earn a laugh from me. Don't do cheap little fucking things. And I feel like that's what's going on with this season. It's cheap laughs, little fucking things just to make you go like ha ha. And I'm not fucking ha ha. I'm sitting there like, okay, that's it. That's it. You could get laughs from me. I'm not a fucking stick in the mud. I'm not. I love funny shit. I love dark comedies. My favorite movie of all time is a dark comedy. But
You
earn
know,
it. That is lazy writing. And that's what pisses me off. It takes me out of the state of even focusing on a joke where I'm looking at a joke and I'm like, but why? This
you know,
season has just been full of disappointment. And at the same time, there's so much potential for things that are better. So now, yeah, if you're not going to go ahead and make me laugh when you're trying so hard to make me laugh, I'm gonna be looking at the other aspects of the show that I like. And I see potential for better storytelling. I see potential for better writing and everything. So now I'm focused on that. Now I want to see more of that. And you're not giving me that. Instead, you're giving me little fucking poop jokes, ass eating jokes, asshole jokes, literal asshole jokes, and all of that. I don't want to see it. Don't care for it. You know,
yeah.
like yeah.
I just kind of realized something that your friends as a dark comedy. I'm just kind of looking it up. Yeah, dark comedy is listed. Okay, that's fair. It's fair because I guess for me I guess I've never really looked at The Boys as a comedy. I mean, I've kind of looked at it more as a drama show with comedic elements. You know, um, I mean, to be fair, it does list dark comedy as one of its things, but drama, crime, comedy, dark comedy, satire, satire, yeah, definitely, action for sure, sci-fi, yeah, got that too. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're looking at on the whole, for me, I'll say it leans more towards I mean, in my mind, when I'm watching it, I don't. I'm not watching it like, for example, watch a show like Friends. Friends is a comedy. You watch it; it's supposed to make you laugh. They're gonna do bunch of jokes, some silly jokes, some more less silly jokes, a range of different jokes. That's what comedies do, right? But then you have shows where they're drama based, but they've got comedic elements in there, so you're gonna maybe laugh a few times out of some of the things they do. That's kind of how I looked at The Boys. That's a dramatic show, sci-fi, fantasy, drama with comedic elements. But I don't know. I mean, perhaps that's maybe why I'm a bit more tolerant of some of the things than you. If you're watching it more as, say, dark comedy first, and you know what I mean, rather than drama first. And maybe perhaps that's the difference between how I'm perceiving it and how you're perceiving it. I'm watching it as drama first, with the comedic elements secondary, and maybe you're perhaps watching it as dark comedy first with everything else secondary. Would you say that's right, or how are
No,
you seeing it?
no. I would say um if anything, this season, like first I've been watching The Boys as a dark comedy initially, right? Like that's what I was focused on. Oh, it's a dark comedy. And it did it well. And then I started getting into the story, I started getting into the characters. I say by this season, now I'm starting to focus on the action part of it. So I would say it's the opposite. Um, I'm not looking for jokes,
Mm,
but I'm okay with jokes. I'm fine with jokes, but make it funny. I feel like the jokes that they have in here is like it's not like every joke falls flat on its face. No, absolutely not. But a lot of jokes, it's like it's cheap fucking humor. It's like for me, one of the most famous comedians, and this is just something that I could relate to that just popped in my head. It may not even come out right, but whatever. For me, one of the most famous comedians that I could never stand really, even though he would make me laugh sometimes, is DL Hughley. Never really
okay,
liked
yeah.
his stand up because his gimmick is strongly like, well, white people do it like this and black people do it like that. White people like this, black people like that, and is cheap. It was cheap. That's why I never really even. And I'm talking about as a kid. I haven't watched any of his stand ups again as an adult. As a kid, where it's easier to make me laugh, I just didn't find him funny most of the time. Like 90% of the time, I didn't find him funny. In movies, yeah, he was funny, but his comedy, no, no. And I feel like that's what they're going for, that cheap comedy, and you could get a chuckle out of me. You know, you might even get a few laughs, but overall, fucking waste of time. And some of that cheap comedy was a lot of shit that I mentioned in the last time we talked about it, like the ass eating, the fucking butcher showing his asshole to so and so. The better comedy, I could say, like when Huey splashed the acid in what's her name's face. That was funnier because he's like thinking something dramatic is gonna happen. I don't know what, you know. I could still apply. I could still be a stick in the mud and be like, "Whoa, what was he trying to accomplish?" Blah blah, whatever. But I'm not. My point is, it was funny. It was something quick. It was fast. It was funny. Butcher came with the trying to shoot her in the head to finish the job. That shit didn't work, and she just walks off like, "What the fuck is wrong with you guys?" That's funny. That's funny. The scene where Sage was she got shot in the head, so she was, her brain was recovering, and she's eating the cake with her hands, and then she nods at Victoria, and then Victoria nods, and then Sage nods again, and Victoria's like, okay. They keep going back and forth, shit like that. That's funny. The Will Ferrell and all that you mentioned before, that's funny. So it's not like I'm not laughing at all. I'm not sticking the mud. It's just that when you do the cheap comedy, is just not fucking funny. It's not funny. You can have little moments like that where it didn't put much thought into it. That wasn't like a whole setup to make me laugh. It was little moments that just it's like, all right, that's funny. Little fucking moments. The funniest things that I just mentioned from that shit are every funniest moment from this season has been little fucking moments, and that's all you need. You don't need a big setup. You don't need to be the extreme and nasty and disgusting, whatever. Fucking my other favorite joke when see, it still gets me. When when Huey and them were leaving, and he's like, Zendaya. He's like, what? Zendaya was the safe word. That shit is fucking hilarious to me. I love that shit. Because the delivery of it, how dramatic it was. And this guy is like, he comes up as this I forgot how you say it properly, but I'm probably gonna butcher the word, that thespian actor, one of them high grade actors. He comes off as that. He just has that air about him. I think maybe he might have been one of those serious actors. I'm not sure. But either way, that's like if you got Keith David to fucking do that scene. But the actor that they got is perfect. Perfect. I would never want anybody else to play that part. That shit was hilarious.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I could appreciate that. I mean, I guess that's just the difference of opinion on between us then, in terms of like, I don't mind a lot of the cheap jokes. I mean, yeah, some stuff maybe a little bit out of place, but by and large, I don't mind cheap jokes.
I will say this. I'm sorry to
even the arsehole
interrupt.
joke, I don't mind. But
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I am really surprised that you're not more like turned away by this style of comedy, because I remember when we were talking about The Wire before, you were like, "Oh man, they curse too much," and I
sure,
feel
but
like,
then you have to remember
yeah,
that when
but
I was
with
watching
this
The Wire, it was
one,
a long time ago, and I guess things have changed. Here's the thing about, so when I was trying to watch The Wire, I mean, I don't remember how old I was, but it's easily more than 10, 15 years ago at this point when I was trying to watch it. And yeah, just that very first episode, I was kind of like, I think I'm good.
so would you say that when you were younger, you were more serious than you are now?
I don't even know if that's the case. It's more just like when I was watching it at that time, I just felt like there's a lot of. I don't mind swearing in the show. It just felt there was a lot of swearing that just felt out of place, and I just kind of felt to myself, look, I've watched one episode. Do I really want to bother with this? And at the time, I just felt, no, I don't. Now, I don't know. Maybe if I watched it again, I might feel differently. You know, like I said, it's been a long time since I've done that. I don't mind swearing. I don't mind cheap jokes. When things are a bit too out of place, yeah, that can. I might make the decision to just not bother with it, and that's what I felt at that time. A lot of it just felt out of place and unnecessary, and so my decision was, I've seen this one episode, I think I'm good. The rest of it, it probably does get better, I'm sure. Like, a lot of people love the Wire, you know, and I see some of the memes from it as well, and some of the clips from it. So I doubt that's the whole run of just a bunch of unnecessary swearing. And maybe it really wasn't just that first episode that felt that way. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind swearing. I don't mind pretty much most things. I don't have too much of an issue with. But yeah, if it's overdone or just feels out of place and unnecessary, then yeah. In this case, the jokes, yeah, and even when it comes to jokes, if jokes are a bit overdone and out of place, they feel unnecessary, then yeah, I have an issue too. I guess I just didn't feel that with this. A lot of the humor I was pretty okay with. Even the silly jokes, I personally didn't feel they were, you know, overdone and out of place in this particular season, or even any season for that matter. That they've kind of felt like mostly fine. I mean, yeah, I guess there's after the way you described, and I thinking back on it, yeah, I guess it's fair to say that some of them were maybe a bit whatever, but by and large, as I was watching it, yeah, I can't say I felt that it was overdone and out of place. And yeah, even some of the jokes were a bit silly, of course, like the arsehole jokes with the butcher, but it's kind of his character to do that sort of thing, right? Or Ashley pooping in the toilet or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's a bit silly, but I get it, so yeah, it just didn't bother me. It didn't bother me.
Okay.
But I don't know, maybe one day I'll try the Shield again. Maybe. It's been many years. If I can get past that very first episode, yeah, I suppose the rest of it's fine.
When it comes to the writing of like
the Shield, sorry, not the Shield, the Wire, sorry, the Wire. The Shield is great, by the way. That's a great show.
When it comes to the dialogue of the Wire, I would say is very natural. But again, that comes to the differences between our countries and everything. The way how they talk in the Wire, of course, is a different era, so the slang is a little different, but still, like that's how I remember it. Like, of course, it varies from state to state too. So like Baltimore, they say certain things that New York don't say, but I do remember a lot of dialogue and everything is so damn natural. The dialogue between the cops, I haven't known many cops or whatever, but any cops that I did hear talk, they kind of talk a little bit like that too. I can't really speak too strongly about that aspect, but anything that I did know that I was familiar with, my culture and all that, spot on. I feel like dialogue was so natural. It was never really where I'm listening to them talk and I'm like, that don't sound right, or that seems weird, or it took me out of it. Like, nah, that's what sucked me in, was that the Wire felt so fucking natural. Like, these characters are believable. Even Idris Elba's British ass really blended in. I did not know the whole time that I watched The Wire, I did not know that he was British at all whatsoever, because he did such a great job. And I feel like rewatching it about the third or fourth time, I heard maybe only I like not even a handful, just a couple of times in a couple of fingers I could count where you could hear his accent slip a little bit, but not even enough to where you would notice like, oh yeah, that's a British accent. There's something where I would be like, oh, you didn't say it correctly or whatever. But everybody does that. Even me. Sometimes I would pronounce something like I have a fucking Caribbean accent and I don't, and I'm not from the fucking, you know, islands or whatever.
You know, I'm gonna say something real quick, and I will die on this hill. By the way, before I even say it, but just so you know, I will die on this hill. British people play Americans better than Americans play Americans.
I mean, I can see why you would say that, and I mean, to defend it, I can see why, because a lot of actors, you tell actors you have to be this person, and they just think, okay, well, I'll just go ahead, take some mannerisms, and that's it. If you tell somebody to, like if you were to ask me to do a fucking Boston accent, I'm gonna exaggerate certain words that I know how Boston people, or I think how Boston people talk. But with a British actor, first off, American accents are easy to imitate because we have such a lazy way of talking. Um, Whereas I feel like with British accents, it's very much about pronouncing certain words a certain way. And of course, you got the aspects of those British accents that they're lazy in their own way of talking. But typically, it's about pronunciation. Where Americans, we could go ahead and just talk, 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 and our tongue is lazy as fuck. Um, and I feel like with British actors, there is about laying, relaxing with the tongue when when you're talking and everything, but at the same time studying. They have to study the mannerisms, and a lot of those British actors, like the guy from Get Out, the guy who played Franklin from Snowfall, Idris Elba, so on and so forth. The guy that is from the Walking Dead, who plays fuck, I forgot his name, Morris or some shit.
Rick.
The black guy.
Oh well, yeah, I know you mean. I forget his name, but yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
all these guys are British.
Rick Grimes is British as well. Andrew Lincoln,
Yeah,
and
a lot of these.
Morgan. No, damn it, I'm blanking on his name. But yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of these actors, they have to study the mannerisms of Americans and everything. So they put way more work into doing that. So yeah, I believe that. I feel like that's nothing controversial to say, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think it is really is that we get a lot of American sort of shows and movies and things like that, and of course music and things over here. So we probably get a lot more practice here in the American accent than I imagine you guys get here in the British accent. I mean, shows or that do like British shows that do well in America. I'm not sure there's that many when it comes down to it, because I know you guys often do like American versions of British shows rather than actually just showing a British show. So there's maybe like Doctor Who that I think does okay over there. Adele as a singer does well over there, and Ed Sheeran. So there's some, right. There's some singers and some people that have crossed over and done well. But I feel like by and large, we probably get way more American shows than you get British shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, definitely. It's not many, like, as far as I know, the only British show that I know that was kind of big over here, off the top of my head, is Peaky Blinders.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you could say the Harry Potter movies, yeah. Even though that's not a show, but still, you could say
Well,
the
yeah. Well.
Harry Potter movies. Um, Knives Out, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was
Oh yeah. Yeah.
British.
Yeah. Well, British
Um,
lead. I think I think it's I can't remember. I think it's but yeah, the British lead, the lead actor is
mhm.
British, but there's other
Yeah,
people in it. So yeah,
yeah, yeah,
kind of a
definitely,
mix.
definitely.
But I think the writers
Even the
can't
James
remember where he's
Bond
from.
movie
Yeah.
series, yeah,
So yeah,
I think
there's a few
yeah,
examples. There's a few examples. Um, but yeah, we're kind of like. I mean, like people when I'm talking to people, sometimes people tell me that I sound American. I don't particularly hear it myself, but that's what people say to me, and I feel like a big part of that is probably a subconscious thing because yeah, I grew up watching American TV, so I probably do pronounce things in a way that maybe it's more of an American side, just because that was maybe my exposure to it, and subconsciously I'm maybe saying things in a way that's maybe more American than British, just because I watched a lot of American TV growing up, I watched a lot of American movies growing up, listened to a lot of American music growing up, and of course there's British influence as well. We watch British shows as well. I'm not saying that, but there is a lot of American influence on British cultures, from the movies, from the shows, from just kind of looking at America as the circus that it feels like it is sometimes. American season 5, I think we're on right now. But there's definitely a lot of American influence in British culture. So perhaps that subconsciously is coming out in the way I speak, so people think I sound American. And for actors or anybody who does any kind of like work like that, is probably a bit more attuned to picking out those specifics and using it to speak if you have to play a character a certain way and things like that. So I feel like that is all part of the influx of British actors going over to America and doing playing American characters, and not even noticing that that's what's happening until Anthony Mackie starts getting mad about it. And you say Anthony Mackie was like, "Yeah, there's a lot of British actors because they go to like Juilliard." It's like, bro, you went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. What are you complain about? Yeah. That was a reference to a joke I'm not sure you got, by the way.
No, I think he have an interview where he complained about that, or am I mistaken?
Mate. No, he did, but boy, really? So I feel like someone says I make references to things. I'm like, that was just wasted. You didn't get it. You didn't get it. You didn't get it. Just wait. That was a good joke. For anybody who got that joke, I appreciate you. But boy. All right, so he did the interview. He was talking about British actors and stuff like that, and British actors going to like these sort of fancy schools and stuff. Not Juilliard. Juilliard's actually an American school, by the way, but he didn't say that. That was just me. That was my mistake. Juilliard's, I think, a school in New York. But anyway, he was talking about British actors going to these fancy schools and stuff like that. And my comment was that you went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. Was reference to when he was in 8 Mile, because that's what Eminem said to him.
Oh,
see, once you explain it, it's like,
man, I've only watched 8 Mile once or twice.
It's like a magician giving away his tricks. It's like once you explain it, you went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. Oh man, you ain't seen 8 Mile, boy. You watch 8 Mile.
I've only seen it once or twice.
Oh, watch it again then. If you've forgotten that line, then you need to watch it again. Okay, that's a sign to watch it again if you've forgotten that line. But anyway, I think we've covered pretty much most, if not everything. Well, not every single little thing. Of course, there's loads to talk about. I think we've covered all the important bits. But there is one last thing I want to bring up briefly before we finish off, though, because the last time we talked about The Boys, we were talking about The Boys seasons 1 to 3, and I asked you at the time if you thought there was any kind of references to Donald Trump, because that's something that I'd seen online prior to watching it. And I think at the time you said that you didn't really see the connection. But it seems with this season, they're kind of making it very clear.
Yeah.
that they're referencing that whole thing. Like it seems to be kind of in your face, pretty much clear that this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that now from, what you previously thought to this season in terms of their references to American politics?
I mean, when it's used right, it's good. When it's used wrong, it's like, I feel like sometimes the writers, they give off this feeling of like a lot of people were complaining, the Trump fans and everything, and now they're getting back at them, and that's okay as long as you do it right. And they did do it right quite a few times. Like I feel like the best time they did it was when Homelander was trying to do that same rah speech in the private party, and they weren't going for it. I feel like that that's when they do it perfectly. That's when, when you're trying to be inspired by the whole Trump thing, that's when it's done perfectly. But the whole Homelander people going against the Starlighter people and all that shit, it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's being blown out of proportion because, like, who the fuck is Starlight? Like, at the end of the day, Starlight, yeah, she had a few moments where she stood up and she, rallied and everything, but she gave up the name, right? And it wasn't like until later in the season where she brought it up again, where she had to reclaim it. Um, she stopped using her powers and all that shit because she wanted to let go of it and just be a normal person and be one of the people, whatever the fucking case may be, whatever she was on. I don't know. So I'm just like, you're using Starlight to go against Homelander, as in like good versus evil. Among that's the way how the people in the universe are viewing it. But it's like, who the fuck is Starlight? In the grand scheme of things, Starlight is not up there. She was popular at one point, but honestly, she didn't do anything to really be like, yo, yeah, Starlight, 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 and get all these fucking followers and shit. Like, I just feel like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I need to rewatch the series again. But I'm just looking at it like, at the end of the day, I'm like, how the fuck did we get here? Where Starlight is really up here in this fucking. If anything, I can understand it. Well, Maeve is dead, quote unquote, but um, you know, Starlight, I can understand Maeve was up there, but Starlight, no, no. I feel like I don't know. I feel like Starlight didn't earn that for the people to be rallying up behind her as a strong opposition against the Homelander people. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like it
think
should
with
still be
that,
lopsided.
it's like Starlight. I mean, it seemed like that was something that happened in between seasons. The whole kind of Starlighters organization, and setting it up with the thing to help kids, and protest this and all that kind of. It seems to
Hmm.
be like a lot of stuff that happened in between seasons. So by the time we get to the start of season 4, there's a lot that's already happened that we're not directly privy to. So yeah, it can kind of feel like, okay, so where did this come from a little bit. But that's the kind of take that I got, that this is all kind of in between a little bit of the seasons. But even then, it's like there's not really much time in between seasons. So part of it is like, yes, I had it get that big that quickly, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's probably perhaps a few explanations needed in terms of that. Well, maybe not needed actually. To be fair, I don't think it's needed, but yeah, in terms of like rounding that out, like why are you protesting against what is effectively an activist group. That's one way around. Why is Homelander bothering with this? What's effectively just a small kind of group, or at least ostensibly a small group. Like it seems like the Homelanders, or the Homeland, what they call the Homelanderers. No, I can't remember. They call themselves something. Home. I can't remember what they call them, but they had a name. But those guys,
Yeah.
and then you'd think like Starlighters are like maybe there somewhere, like levels, right? For those who are listening, I'm talking about different levels, like Homelanderers being above and Starlighters being below, but they're kind of fighting against each other, and I don't know. I mean, it worked out. I mean, I guess it's one of these things where it said they don't, or maybe it didn't really matter that they're below. What they really needed is somebody to look bad, and Starlight being a former member of the Seven, having her group look bad. It didn't matter that whether she's not that famous in the activist world. It didn't. She's only kind of famous in the social media world. They just they need her to look bad, and because they are protesting against them, it's like, okay, well, let's kill these guys, Todd and his friends, batter them to death, and then put the bodies in the crowd and make it look like Starlighters did it. It makes them look bad, and it gives maybe more sympathy to their side. So yeah, maybe the point wasn't that they're on the same level, because maybe they're not. It was just they just need a group to make them, that they can use to make them look good. And Starlight is already famous regardless of what her activisms have been in the last between seasons or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it had to have happened between seasons. I don't know. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. It's
I'm
the
disappointed.
general gist of it. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm
And
disappointed.
it's like the actor is very good. Like when she did that body double thing or whatever, the mimic person, shapeshifter. I mean,
Hmm.
very good. I fucking enjoyed those scenes so much. Like when she got to let go and just do what she, play this fucking other character. She is so good, and that's what makes me even more like disappointed because I'm like, she it will be different if she is incapable of doing other things. But no, it's like, no, that means the director and the writers, they decided Starlight will be this character this season. This is how she's going to be. And it fucking stinks. I don't like it. And I used to love Starlight. I liked Starlight in the previous seasons. Maybe season 3, I gotta rewatch that to remember how she was. But I remember liking her a lot, especially in her first season. First season Starlight was awesome. Um, not perfect, but awesome. And that's fine. I don't need a perfect character.
Mm. Yeah, Starlight was eh. I mean, yeah, she's all right. She's all right. I mean, she ultimately, as you know, whether you find her annoying or whatever, she's ultimately serves the purpose of being that kind of bridge between, um, you say, supers and uh, um, what's his name, Butcher. You know, like through Huey. You know, like if it was completely up to Butcher, he probably would have nothing to do with her. But you know, she is with Huey, and so they're linked regardless of whether they like it or not. So yeah, there's she has a reason to be there, and part of that reason is that yeah, she's going to argue with Butcher, and I think Butcher kind of needs that as well because ultimately, kind of Butcher thinks the type of character that fundamentally needs somebody around him who's going to tell him no, and he's got for that, who's very happy to tell him no when he needs to, but you know, let's be real, he doesn't always listen to and so you need somebody else who's also going to be like no and have a bit more of a say reasoned, um, maybe even sweeter way of saying it than does because when he says no, he's more like you know very kind of like I'm your daddy kind of telling you no, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Starlight is maybe more of say a caring approach, and people like Butch I think need maybe both of those really. When one doesn't work, the other needs to come in, and right. So yeah, I think there's definitely a very important reason for her to be there, even though she can be annoying at times. You need somebody who's going to pull your ass aside and be like, "This is stupid," and then when you don't listen to that person, that's when Emin comes and tells you, like, you know, this is stupid. When you're not listening to Eminem, then she needs to take this stupid. You know what I mean? It's a balance. I guess it's kind of like the good conscience, bad conscience, like Rebecca and Kessler, but they're both alive and they're both telling him they're both willing to argue with him, but just from very kind of different ways, you know, different approaches. So yeah, she's useful.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the references to politics, though, yeah, I do think it's definitely more apparent in this season than it has been. I mean, to be honest, I personally felt it was a bit obvious in previous seasons as well. But yeah, this season they were definitely more kind of in your face about it, and you know what, I'm fine with that. I mean, it's something that the show's always done, and it's something clearly that they want to do, and it's you know it's not like they just thought of it now and just throw it in there. It's kind of been there, so it just seems like part of the course that they're just going to continue on this route. And I imagine with season 5, they're just gonna do more of that, and maybe even more in your face about it, as well as they're wrapping it all up. So yeah, it was kind of very clear that they're making these references to the Homelanders, kind of like being the MAGA equivalents, and the Starlighters, I guess, the liberal equivalents. In fact, they make a lot of references to AOC as well. Not a lot, but certainly a few. Because we've got like what's the name? I'm blanking on everybody's name right now. Newman. When she's introduced, she's very much coming across as an AOC type character, even though she, I guess, not in the end, really, at least as far as we know. I don't know what AOC does in the background when I don't know when the cameras are off. I don't know, but she comes across as a AOC type person. So yeah, there's definitely been a lot of references throughout the seasons, and it was just very kind of bit more. Well, a lot more in your face with season 4. So, yeah, it's what it is. I'm good with it. But yeah, I think that covers just about everything. Certainly, most things. Or are you feeling there's anything else we need to bring up before? I guess we don't need to do a part 3 at least. Anyway, there's not much to talk about. But do you think there's anything else we need to bring up before we press stop record on the recorder on the play?
I can't think of anything else that we didn't cover. I honestly feel like we covered everything.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think we covered just about everything, or certainly most things anyway. Like I said, there's probably loads of stuff we could talk about. But I think we've certainly covered all the big major bits, and there's some of the smaller bits as well. So yeah, cool. But yeah, all right. Let's end on this. What is your main, I guess, season 5 prediction / hope?
I hope that we buckle down and focus on the storytelling aspects. Of course, again, I'm not against them doing jokes. I just want to go ahead and be told a good story. I don't want this to end with just the same energy that they have for the season. The season was like, honestly, if I had to rate it, it'd be like a 6 out of 10. Easily. Not even close to a 7. They had a lot of things that I did like, or rather, no, correction. Not a lot of things I like, but things that I really liked, I should say. And I want them to just focus on that. Focus on telling the story. This is going to be your last season. You're not going to go back to it. Yeah, you got the spinoff show, and apparently they're going to have another spinoff show pretty soon. I didn't really hear too much about that. I just know that it deals with Brazil, but don't rely on those spin-off shows to tell the complete story. Just finish this story, this final season. Give it your all. Really get passionate about the writing. Just get passionate about it. Why not? If you're just doing it just to get it over and done with, fuck, But if you actually give a fuck about what you're doing, go out with a bang. Really make because people, here's the thing. When it comes to shows, people are not going to say, "Oh yeah, I would tell you to watch it, but that third season is terrible, so don't watch it." No, it's about the beginning and the end. The middle part we could forgive. It's always been done, but that ending, if it's a terrible ending, like look at Game of Thrones. I don't even tell people watch. Oh man, you should watch it, but just it has a bad ending, but you should watch it. No, I don't tell people to watch it. Why? Because the fucking ending is terrible, and if the ending is terrible, it's not worth the watch because that's the journey you have to get through, and then that last thing is like having a delicious plate of food, eating it, and then there's a big ass cockroach at the bottom of the plate that just ruined your whole fucking thing. It ruined everything. It doesn't matter how good it tastes before you got to that point. You had a fucking roach sitting there that whole fucking time. So, yeah, all right. But So when it comes to this last season, I just want to see good writing. I want more of Soldier Boy. I want more of the psyche of Butcher, um, Homelander. I want Ryan to commit on one side or the other. You could listen. You don't have to have him be a bad guy throughout the whole season. He obviously did something fucked up. Let him be a bad guy for a bit, and then if you want to turn him good, have it be a good reason why he turns into a good guy. Um, Whatever they do with Homelander and Soldier Boy, please let it be between them and and maybe Ryan involved to a certain degree, and maybe Butcher too. Yeah, Butcher too. But between Homelander and uh Soldier Boy, let them handle what they got to handle to themselves. Father, son. I don't need to see Huey involved saying X, Y, and Z. I don't need to see Frenchie involved saying X, Y, and Z, all that other shit. No, let it be between those two. Then involve Homelander with the other people, whatever the fuck you want to do. Yeah, I need to see scores settled, but properly. And what else? No more bullshit. Just no more bullshit. I don't even care if you just drop off the fucking storyline. I don't want to see Colin. I don't want to see that girl from the fucking cult that Kimiko was in. I don't need any of that bullshit. Let's just drop all the bullshit storylines, get focused on the meat of it, and tell a good fucking story. Go out with a bang. That's it.
Okay. Okay, I mean, for me, I mean, yeah, whatever they do, you just hope it's goes with banks, like you say, like the last season, the last episodes, the last very way it ends can make or break a series. It really can. You know, you can have a really great show and the ending's terrible and it just puts a sour taste on everything. So the ending is really important. Now, I have seen them say that the plan was always to do 5 seasons. So if that's the case, and hopefully this is something they've planned out how they're gonna end it, and everything's been leading towards this, and that kind of stuff. Because I know sometimes with shows, they think they're going to get this many seasons, but they actually get this many seasons, so they end up rushing this. Or, I know that's an issue with a lot of other shows. Apparently with this one, the plan was always to be 5 seasons. So hopefully that means that they were able to plan out each season, including the ending, as well as they could. And we get an ending that's as good as it can be. But of course, how that turns out. I mean, for me, it's like, I know there's all sorts of things I'd like to see. And more gore. I'm good with that. More Butcher's arsehole. Why not? I'm good with that. But but I think in the end, it's just like you want to see something that, I know it's just a quality show from beginning to end, throughout, and wherever they do have they resolve it, like you say, just no nonsense. Well, not no nonsense, but hopefully they don't fall into the trap of making too many things that don't really fit in and then having no time to actually tell the main story of how you're resolving this, and it just feels a bit all dumb. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but whatever they do, well, yeah, we're just looking forward to hopefully what turns out to be a great season that blows all our minds and gives us things that we didn't know that we wanted, that we don't even know to even think about, because I feel like that's the markings of just creativity in general, is that you give people what they don't know they want yet. That's the markers of being a creative, rather than just like saying, hey, what do you want to see, and then doing that. It's like, I'm going to give you what you don't know you want to see yet, and then all the things we're thinking of about, oh, let's see this, like to see that, and then when it comes, it does none of that, but it just blows your mind anyway. That's what I'm hoping for in the end. Just something that just blows my mind in terms of like being a great show, great story, great dialogue, everything. But well, I don't know when next season is due out or not. I'm sure it's probably at least a year or more away, maybe in 2 years. When was it? It was like 2 years between the season 3 and season 4, I think, wasn't it? So yeah, maybe about the same sort of time. So yeah,
Yeah.
just as long as hopefully it's great, and if it's not, well, gives us something to talk about at least. But yeah, that I think is where we'll wrap up our talk about season 4 of The Boys. Let us know what you think in the comments. You know, any moments that stood out for you. If you like the jokes, hate the jokes, all that sort of stuff. Let us know what you want to see in season 5. If you have any thoughts, predictions, theories, things like that. But yeah, if you've been watching this far, or if you're watching any amounts of this podcast, whether you watched a little bit or a lot of it, a little bits or a lot of bits, I appreciate it for watching and or listening. Appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode. So it is good night from me and good night from him. You know, that's from but I'm about to get sidetracked again. It's another old school reference, by the way. It's another old school. The two Ronnies. The two Ronnies. They probably never showed this in America, but we had a show called The Two Ronnies, and that's how they end it. It's good night from me. It's good night from me, and it's good because the one Ronnie would say it's good night from me. The other Ronnie would say, and it's good night from him. And I say always end every show. The two Ronnies. Old school, man. If you know the two Ronnies, by the way, let me see. If you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. Let me know. But yeah, the two Ronnies, old school show. Big up Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett. Yeah, Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett. Big up Ronnie Corbett. Big up Ronnie Corbett. Yeah, legendary. Oof. Anyway. Thank you for watching and or listening. And until whenever, if ever, peace.